Need Marner.
By life's purity, survival.
Jesus Christ!
All clouded by conscience remorse. I can't lie to you about your chances, but
held in, but no break. Listerina bumps it
you
away.
have my sympathy.
Bennett scores.
Goal, Chris Neil, Derek Stepan, out in front of chance. They score! Chris Kreider.
Zibanejad off the side of the net. They score. He gets it back. Panarin dishes. Fox to Trocheck. From the high slot, Panarin scores! The Rangers have tied the game at 3 apiece. A lot on it. It was a bullet. The Rangers, Robertson to the score! And you believe it! Chris Kreider with the natural hat trick, the go-ahead goal.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. Well, it might be a little bit of an emotional day because we're going to be saying goodbye, potentially, to one of the better Rangers of this century. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, and he's looking right now at his Ranger jersey, well, behind me, but it's sort of like Spider-Man, where he just put it in the garbage. It's Spider-Man No More, one of my favorite episodes of that. But joined by the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Fulkowski.
Yeah, I think there might be a curtain closing on Broadway sometime soon. If the deal is not done today, I would be shocked, but does Chris Drury have to go into cutthroat mode again if a certain someone doesn't want to go?
It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And of course, we're going to be doing that with the man from the hockey news, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
So for a wrestling reference, years back, The Rock closed the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. He put an end to that. It's going to be the Mark Williams Chris Kreider fan club is closed. So shed the tears now, Mark.
I think if you remember correctly, back when you first started, Anthony, I kept referring to myself as the vice president of the Chris Kreider fan club. And Chris Kreider, of course, had a great career with the New York Rangers. We're going to get more into that in a minute. No. There is no competition. And if any New York Ranger would have been Brian Leach. But
oh man, Mark Kreider's jersey making it into the stream before the hoop.
Well, because the hoop's harder to get on in. We're gonna. Oh no, that's not true. I had the hoop recently. But guys, let's get to the A block where we're gonna talk about some of the news that broke late last night. And if you watched Rangers Central stream on it, he covered it pretty good as well. Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. I'm wearing this hat, which you guys all know one of my favorite moments from the 1980 USA hockey team, and my lovely wife got me this hat, and it's also from Butte Sports, so that's for you, hon. All right, and the A block is of course powered by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. But let's get to the news that was breaking last night, and I turned in early, so I didn't even know this was going on. But reports have a trade framework in place to send Chris Kreider. The reports have a trade framework in place to send Chris Kreider to the Anaheim Ducks, who are going to supposedly be taking on all of his salary. Kreider's New York Rangers ranks 8th in games played, 3rd in goals, tied for the most in power play goals, 2nd in game-winning goals, 48. He has the most playoff goals out of any New York Ranger ever, and 12 game-winning goals. So I'm going to start with you. What is your thoughts on the potential trade and then his legacy as a New York Ranger?
Oh man.
I still have my Callahan jersey.
You know what? I mean, if we're gonna go with funny comments, I gotta go to this one here from Dave. You can always take on prior nameplate and slap on a Ton Harvey nameplate. I think it's time to go. He seemed checked out. I think he needs to go. I think the team needs to move on. He's a very good Ranger. I still think he could have been more than what he was. I think this guy that consistency plagued him throughout his career. I think that if he would have played physical and consistent on a nightly basis, you would have seen something close to what Kevin Stevens was. And he had all the tools. Maybe not the hands that Stevens had, because Kreider never had the greatest hands, but a very good shot, great skater, very powerful. He was a very good Ranger. Somebody, one of my mutuals on Twitter actually posted a comparison for the two. And if you look at he posted it on my timeline, funny enough, because
I think it's the same one that's on my timeline.
Yeah, from MYR Tim, NYJ
Yep.
Tim. Yeah. So look at the career numbers of Chris Kreider versus Adam Graves. Kreider in 13 years, Graves in 10. 883 games played for Kreider, 326 goals, 256 assists, 582 points, an 82-game average of 30 goals, 24 assists, 54 points. Graves in 10 years, 772 games played, 280 goals, 227 assists, 500 points. Average 82-game season, the exact same numbers, 30, 24, and 54. So,
and that is insane to even think about it like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I just think that a lot of people look at Graves and they're saying, why is this guy's numbers retired? If you look at the numbers just on a number standpoint, Adam Graves meant so much more to the New York Rangers in the community than anyone can fathom. And I know that Anthony understands it, even as an Islander fan, what the guy meant to the community. A lot of guys who were old enough to watch Graves here and the way that he handled himself in the community. I know several people that have worked with him on a daily basis and absolutely adore the guy. Adore him. So I think that Chris Kreider, no offense to him, I don't think he could be what Adam Graves was to the community, because Adam Graves, in terms of being entrenched in New York community and everything, he's on a level with players like Rod Gilbert. Like, that's the only guy that I can think of that meant more to the community in New York than Adam Graves. Was Mr. Ranger himself, and that man obviously earned that nickname. So for me, I think that Chris Kreider will get a very long video tribute when he comes back. He absolutely deserves that. Do I think he deserves the rafters? No. I think, and I'm going to liken this to Harold Baines in Major League Baseball. Harold Baines getting into the Hall. No offense to Harold Baines, very good player. Him getting into the Hall of Fame kind of opened up the door to a lot of other guys to get into the Hall of Fame. Like and Anthony brings up wrestling. Funny enough, I'll bring up a wrestling comparison for anybody, for all the wrestling fans in the chat. The Godfather got into the WWE Hall of Fame. He held one championship, the Intercontinental Championship, once. That was it. He might be one of the greatest characters in WWE history, but he's earned one championship. So you're opening up a lot of doors for a lot of inferior players to get in by doing that. And that's what I think you do by letting Chris Kreider into the rafters. I'm sorry. I know that's going to tick off a lot of people. This sums it up perfectly here from Joe. A lot of great moments. The Game 6 hat trick against Carolina, some of his big goals in his first playoff run, his 2014 playoff run. But yeah, I think that you're kind of submarining, having the Raptors and that pantheon of players by letting someone like Chris Kreider up there with them.
I'll give my thoughts on that in a minute, but first let's turn over to Anthony. Anthony, what's your thoughts on the trade itself as well as Kreider's legacy?
Oh, first off, Mark, my condolences to you. I know you're probably crying on the inside.
This is a day I knew would come, Anthony. This is the difference. I've been saying this since October. As soon as Alexei Lafreniere signed, this was inevitable.
Yeah, Chris Kreider for the first 8 seasons of his Ranger career, never reached 30 goals. He was 20 goals, 24 goals, 28 goals. He was a guy that was good around the net, used his size, used his speed. But he was kind of madly frustrating because there were nights where he just kind of would disappear and coast. And you figured, okay, this is all he is. But then out of nowhere in 21-22, he exploded for that 52 goal season, which clearly ended up being, an outlier. But then the following 2 years after that, 36 and 39 goals. So he had a 3-year run recently where he just, seemingly like he just got better. Now, with that said, he was still that same madly frustrating player because despite his scoring, there were still things he did that you'd be like, what is he doing or where's the effort? But, when you look at his Ranger career overall, even without those last 3 years we had 52 goals and then 36, 39, he was a solid Ranger. He was a guy that gave it everything for the majority of the nights. He was a heart and soul player. He's one of the better net front presence across the league for the majority of his career with the Rangers. And, he became a fan favorite despite any of his flaws. So, similar to when the Islanders moved on from Brock Nelson, it was a guy that played his whole career in one spot. For the most part, again, was loved by the fans. And you thought at some point these guys parallels, maybe they finish their careers with their respective franchises, but things sometimes a losing season can change things. And I think that's what happened to really both of them. But at the end of the day, I think Kreider, like,
Anthony froze up, I think.
Yeah, I'm holding to see whether or not it's if he gets it back. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, here we go.
I think
at the end of the day,
think he's going to get that long video tribute. Don't think he's going to get his number retired. At the end of the day, I don't think he's kind of really did enough there. But certainly of this kind of generation, decade plus, he was one of the more well-known and better Rangers. So we'll see once the trade becomes official. But looks like, his time with the Rangers is certainly ending. And, the $6.5 million coming off the books is big for the Rangers because now they have a little bit of breathing room. However, after the move, they still need to do some work because, Will Cooley's going to get a nice little extension. We'll chip away at that new cap space that Kreider moving created. But it's certainly a good start for Chris Drury to possibly start, retooling this team a little bit. So as far as the trade itself, I mean, kind of wait to see it's official, but the prospect they're getting from New York, seems it's hard to really gauge on what a player like that is going to become. I believe he was a second or third round pick a couple of years ago. So, I don't know how much of an impact they'll have on the team, but the pick that they get, I think that can kind of maybe swing the overall trade. If it's a 4th or 5th round pick and maybe the trade's just kind of meh. If they get a second, then and along with the prospect, I think that end up may have been pretty decent. So we'll see how it plays out.
The dogs, even when you're outside, Anthony, even when you're outside. Starting with, by the way, the pick. Basically, if it's a 2nd round pick from Anaheim, that's like a 1st round pick. So it's close to that. Let's start with Chris Kreider and his career. A friend of mine and I, Timmy Karakostas, talked about this years ago. He said, look, there's 2 guys I thought were really good, and then the Rangers that they're good, can't miss prospects. One of them was Chris Kreider, and that's what made me start following him a little bit closer. And the other one was Mark Savard. And Mark Savard, I always followed. I thought Mark Savard was going to be great. I met Neil Smith in Nashville. My first question to Neil was, and just on the street, I'm like, Neil, why'd you trade Mark Savard? So there's a lot that goes with the Chris Kreider thing, though. He came in with a bang, as you saw in the video tribute we had, which had him at scoring his first goal, game 6, facing elimination, ends up being a game winner. And he would have the most game winners in New York Rangers history. And not going into all those numbers of those 48 goals, how many of them tied the game, like game 5 versus LA in the Stanley Cup Finals, or won the game, or even that were critical? Because I am going to ask this question to Phil. I mean, Anthony, you might not have an opinion, but I'll ask yours anyway about a big moment Kreider has. But first, this trade needed to happen. It had to happen. It was time. Look, if Brian Leetch could get traded, anyone can get traded, especially what guys mean to the organization. Now, the second question is, and we'll go back to the poll question in a minute, is he rafter worthy? My first instinct is to say no, but you're going to get that crowd that's going to get that. Well, he's got the most playoff goals of all time for the Rangers and the most playoff game winners, and nobody's really that close to him. I think Messier's got 7. That's what might push him over the top and get there. And it's funny that you also brought up the Brock Nelson comparison, Anthony, because Kreider, like Brock Nelson, had a good career to start with the New York Rangers. Good, not great. And then he got into his 30s and really sort of unlocked something there and became a 50-goal scorer, scored 38 the next year, had another 30-goal season after that. After he didn't get a 30-goal season at all, partially because of David Quinn shuffling around the lines. Sorry,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I just saw that. I figured I'd type it in there.
Yeah, that's big. That's really, really big for Pittsburgh. I'm guessing the fans and everything are not liking the way that Fenway Sports Group is really kind of managing and owning this team.
Yeah. I was going to say, can we start that and come back to that one later, guys?
I'm sure Crosby will be a fan of that.
Yes.
How close he is with Lemieux.
Yeah. If anything, I would say that just means Crosby would probably be staying there and ending his career. Not that I thought he was going anywhere to begin with, but I think that would really quash like any type of thought of him going anywhere else.
Agreed, and I think it's going to be huge for them because you want at least to have the ownership that cares, and you just don't get that with Fenway. They're just treating it like it's the business expense, and then that's it. But not everybody is. Forgive me if I get the name wrong. It's Ed Snyder that was the owner in Philly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he was spending money and it's clearly that he cared about this team. Ted Leonsis is another guy that comes to mind. Bill, finishing the thought on Chris Kreider, though, and what he did. We know about the games. What is your moment you think about when it comes to Chris Kreider's best moment?
It's really got to be Game 6 against Carolina. Really, I mean, that natural hat trick was crazy. That was his best moment, like hands down. I don't think there's any other moment that comes close.
I have an argument for a different one, but let me also just say, Phil, that Game 6 hat trick against Carolina perfectly encompasses everything about Chris Kreider that all of his defenders and offenders can name. Because where the hell was he the rest of that game? He just pops in out of nowhere, shoves a puck in the net, tips a puck home in the power play, scores the series winning goal minutes later, and just dominates that entire time. You're going, this guy, and look, we're not alone. Elaine Vigneault said the same thing. It's like, I wish we could have that Chris Kreider more often. It's just, I don't think he ever had that game that makes you go, that is take the puck and just dominate. He's a guy that's always plays away from the puck. It's just what he does. My argument for Chris Kreider, though, if you want to talk about it, you could argue an even bigger moment. 2015, facing elimination against Capitals. He ends up scoring the game-tying goal in Game 5. Ryan McDonough, of course, wins it in overtime.
Yeah.
And then comes out the first shift of Game 6, powers through I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was. I can't remember who it is at the moment. Powers right through, one hands a puck past Braden Holtby, and then to close out the first period, buzzer beater goal just by going in the net. Kreider is going to be more frustrating, I think, than Alexei Kovalev was to Rangers fans. And you could still say this guy might have a Raptors worthy opinion. I think both sides have a great case. However, it's just consistency was the thing with him. And maybe that's what John Tortorella saw. He always talked about him needing to go through the process. Then he gets more of a regular stint with Alain Vigneault, and he moves on, and everything's looking good. I was there, the hat trick versus Vancouver in 2013. Sorry, ironically enough, against John Tortorella, who would have another ironic moment later on in that season when Marty St. Louis scored his first goal as a New York Ranger against the Vancouver Canucks. But Phil, this is a guy that, look, if it was maddening to a lot of New York Ranger fans, and it should have been, because at times he looked like that guy that could be physical, dominant, the new version of Adam Graves. Even with those stats, you looked over and went, I'm more surprised because
I saw when Kreider was first drafted, I saw Tony Amonte just a little bigger.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. I thought he was going to be a guy that could go anywhere from 30, 30, 60 to 40, 40, 80 and be, just an absolute sniper off the wing. And then I started to realize as his career went on, like this guy could have been Kevin Stevens. Like he could have been that close to Kevin Stevens.
Kevin Stevens without the injury.
Without the injury. And, it just, if he would have just played physical on a nightly basis, he would have put the fear of God in so many defenders if he was just a guy that played more physical. I remember a time where Chris Kreider was one of the best forecheckers in the league. Like there was a time where he was somebody you just was a pain in the ass to play against in that regard.
And another thing, just to bring up, Phil, and also to back up what you're saying. First, let me bring this up. 2014, we all talk about the run to the playoffs really being the Marty St. Louis, his mom passing. But everybody forgets Game 5 of that series, Chris Kreider comes back against the Pittsburgh Penguins, scores the first goal on Marc-Andre Fleury, banking it in, and then sort of is a dominant force for them going through Montreal, not literally through Montreal. We all know the joke anybody might want to make right there. But also then he was there against the Kings and was quite the force. It was, I mean, the guy just, he played a speed game. We wanted him to play a power game. That's the problem. And I think that's what the fans are seeing. And also, I got to say, Phil, I think it's also the way the game was getting taught back in his era. His era is more of a speed game. Who's the really physical guy?
One of the things that I think we're overlooking here is the fact that he got some penalties and suspensions early on his career for like bulldozing dudes. Like he was getting thrown in the box because like the guy didn't really even know his strength. Yeah. Like, Rempe, how he's like getting thrown in the box and being targeted for, the high hits and, the dirty hits. Kreider was targeted at times early on in his career, throwing on hits. I think that kind of messed with his head a bit. But I think if he would have just stuck with it and really kind of refined his game in terms of throwing hits and not, straight up mauling guys, but, still making them pay the price, I think he could have been a more physical player for longer. But you talk about that Kovalev comparison. Kovalev squandered a lot of his talent. I mean, he really did. I thought when Wayne Gretzky got there, he was finally going to be like a 40-goal, like 80, 90-point guy. Like Kovalev was that good, and he should have been here. But it was something about New York where he just could not play in New York because he was great almost everywhere else. He played Pittsburgh, Montreal. I don't know why he couldn't get it done, but couldn't get it done in New York.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're saying he couldn't get it done in New York, and in New York, and as a young player, the Rangers don't win the Stanley Cup without Alexei Kovalev in 1994, and it was that much. But, but let's move on. Anthony's going to be rejoining us in a moment.
Yeah.
Bill, let's go on to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I still think this is a great series. Obviously, you look at Game 2. Brad Marchand scores in double overtime on his second breakaway of the game. That's amazing. And then Game 3, you have Sam Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe really power the Panthers to a 6-1 win. Bennett had a goal, which we saw in the opener, and Verhaeghe goal and assist. By the way, Phil, I had Verhaeghe on a shot prop and Evan Bouchard on a shot prop, and the Panthers winning, and ended up winning that bet. Not much, just $75, guys. But Bennett scores his 14th goal. He leads all playoff goal scorers. You look at Connor McDavid in the series, 5 assists so far, 0 goals. Let's look at those the last year. 3 points in the first 3 games, 8 points, 4 through 7. We're about to hit Game 4. Phil, and also Leon Draisaitl, nothing. So when you look at this series, start with Game 2, and then let's go over to Game 3. What are your thoughts on it?
I think the Oilers absolutely can compete with them. The one thing that they're going to have to do is go back to what they were doing in Games 1 and 2, which was just playing physical, but not trying to out-Panther the Panthers. And they fell for a lot of the shenanigans and foolery of guys like Bennett and Marchand. They have to stop. They have to stop with that. I don't think that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are going to have another game like they had in Game 3.
Nope.
Sorry. And I think I would rather lose in that fashion than lose in a close heartbreaker. Because at least if you lose that way, you get blown out. One, you know you're not going to have another game as badly as that one went. 2, you can burn the tape, forget about it, and go out there and get back to what makes you good, what got you through the dance. And I do think that they're going to have to change things up. This is a good question, and I was going to get to this actually because maybe
I'm going to get to some things I noticed about
because Stuart Skinner did not look good in Game 3. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, that
first
goal, he was completely out of position on what was he doing there. So
that first goal, you're right about that. He was out of position,
completely out. And Brian Boucher called him out on it right away. He was like, "What were you doing? You're swimming around outside of the crease. Like you can't be doing that." So I do think this series is far from over. I still think it's going 7. That's just a really bad game by Edmonton. And I don't think they will play as badly as they did in that game in the rest of the series.
All right, now I was just
Give
about
credit
to
to
go.
Florida played their game, got in their heads, and threw them off. Kind of like how Sean Avery did to Ilya Kovalchuk in 2007. Played all the mind games, and that's you know what? You're one of those that said that after Game 3 of last year too. I bet you were. And I bet there's a bunch of people in the chat and the comments saying, "Oh, the series is over. The series was," and the same people that said the series was over last year. And then look at what happened. Connor McDavid and changed everything. I'm sure you were.
As I've been saying on the social medias, Phil, hell hath no fury like a McDavid scored. Mr. LaRocco, let's go down to you because the dogs are barking right when I was about to go to you. So good job by Phil to keep it going. So, Anthony, what do you think about this series and still looking like a classic?
Yeah, I don't think it's over. But I mean, I'm sticking with my prediction of the Panthers are ultimately going to win. I don't know. I just think that the Panthers, once they get going and they really start playing their game and they're feeling confident, they're a hard team to crack and beat. So You saw last game. I mean, the Panthers were totally getting under the skin of the Oilers. You had that play where Verhaeghe went down, and Evander Kane's skating by him, and he gives him a tap with his stick in the head. At first, remember, they called it a major, and then they reviewed it, and they saw that it obviously wasn't nearly as maybe vicious as they thought in real time. But that's the type of play. There's no reason for Kane to do that. I mean, the guy's down on the ground, and you hit him in the head with your stick, even if it's just kind of like a little tap. I mean, that's the type of stuff that proves that the Panthers are under their skin. And if Florida scores early, let's say next game, or gets maybe even the first 2 goals, I think things could start to unravel for the Oilers. The Oilers have been resilient. They've had a lot of comebacks, but if they get down 3-1, as good as they are, I don't see them winning 3 straight against Florida. I just don't. Stuart Skinner, he's been good, but the Panthers got to him early. They rattled him, and then from there, the floodgates opened. Skinner, I agreed with the guys on SiriusXM this morning. I'm listening to him. Skinner's been great. Like, if you don't score him early and he starts to get in his groove, he's solid enough where he could play good enough to win you a game or even steal a game. But if you get to him early, he starts to unravel. And, the Panthers last game, they certainly got to him, and he did not really play that well. So Florida's feeling it right now. I think they feel that in the mental game right now, they got one of the Oilers. McDavid and Draisaitl are going to have to come back and have a heroic effort in here in Game 4 if they want to have a chance in this series. So, and also too, remember Nugent Hopkins apparently is a little banged up. I know he didn't practice or skate, so who knows what his ailment is. I mean, obviously that's not good for the Oilers when you already know Hyman's out. So, but look, it's certainly not over. McDavid and Draisaitl can do superhuman things. I just think right now, I mean, look at it this way. Barkov and Reinhart aren't even a huge factor offensively for Florida right now. And they're still winning because Brad Marchand and Sam Bennett are just absolutely wagons. And the key about them, what's the common denominator there? Those guys both agitate, they get under the skin, and they just play a complete game. So with the way they're 2 going right now, it's gonna be a tall order for the Oilers.
Agreed on that one, Anthony. It's going to be a tall order for the Oilers, but if any team is ready for it, it's the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, we look at their failures in Game 3 in the first 3 games. Draisaitl, no shots. McDavid, 3 points in the series. 8 points he had from games 4 through 7 last series. So last year when they did this. So again, this is one of those things that I think Edmonton, I don't want to say that they're ready for it. I think they're going to be a little bit more composed. After all, this point in the series last year, they didn't have a win, and they were still able to push it to 7 games, and within a goal of tying the Stanley Cup Finals. Phil, I actually do think they went out with a game plan, and I think that Florida, they were targeting the stick side on Stuart Skinner all night. I believe all 6 goals in the game, even the one on I forgot his name all of a sudden. Even the one on the backup was Pickard. Yeah, Pickard. Yes, thank you. Calvin Pickard. Even the one on Calvin Pickard by Evan Rodriguez, that was stick side too. They were aiming stick side the entire night. Granted, the first one, Stuart Skinner is way out of position, so it's easy to hit stick side on that one. But the second goal, stick side. Third goal, stick side. They deked them, put it up top, stick side on the 4th. That was Bennett's. Verhaeghe was stick side. That was the second one. Reinhart was the second one. That was the third one. That was stick side. And by the way, that's the save that Skinner makes most of the playoffs. Usually the Oilers get a goal and he tries to keep them close. He makes that save, keeps them in the game, and then that's what happens. I think with Skinner, leave him in net. You have to leave him in net. I know Pickard is probably the more steady goaltender. you're going to win with Skinner. You're going to be in the game, all of them with Pickard. But you look at some of Skinner's numbers. He had a terrible game after a loss against LA, but most of the time after losses, he lost to Vegas. That was when he let in the goal on the last second. That was the next 2 games were shutouts. He has a bad game against Dallas. The next game, shutout. He loses against Florida in double overtime, 881 save percentage and 5 goals against. He had a bad game in game 3, which
the
I don't
first
think
Florida goal in game 2 should have never counted. That should have never counted, and that was nonsense. I'll say this: the officiating has been bad in this series, and Florida's gotten some. They've gotten some favorable bounces because of it, including that. And then Evander Kane's second penalty in game 3, where the one with Marchand should have never been called. I'm sorry, but that was a complete cell acting job by Marchand. And Kane had some dumb penalties regardless, but that one should have never, ever, ever been called. And I don't know how the referees let a guy that like Marchand, who has a penchant for acting and doing dirty things, get away with getting that call. I'm sorry. It's just terrible.
I mean, that's where you go with the guy's reputation, but which reputation were you going with right there? Because Kane's got a reputation too. So you got both of those.
Yeah, but I mean, his acting was probably worse than Geely. How do you
Jennifer Lopez
not see that he's quit? Like he's flailing around, spinning around like he's on ice capades or something. Like what? Really? Come on.
And I'm just going to go back to this quote real quick. Obviously, we didn't feel great waking up, but getting back together again, getting on the ice, feel a lot better about it. And yeah, we're going to be ready for game 4. They're vowing to be ready, and it looks like that's what's going to be the case. I think they're going to be ready for this. Anthony, what's your final thoughts on the Stanley Cup Finals right now? Who wins game 4?
I think the Panthers are going to win. I think they're going to put their foot on the gas here. I think maybe they smell a little bit of blood. And I think they get the job done here.
Phil, who wins game 4?
What I think has to happen, and I think what could end up happening are 2 different things. I think Florida could end up winning this game. Edmonton has to bounce back. They have to win this game. This is a must win. Absolute must win. If they do not win, if Edmonton does not win this game, I don't think this series makes 7. I think they're done in 6 at that point, maybe even 5. But if Edmonton can come back and win this game and even this series going back to Edmonton, then they still have a chance.
I think it could still be Florida. So now I have to give a prediction. Edmonton. I think Edmonton steals this game. It goes back 2-2. All right, guys, we're going to get more into the Stanley Cup Finals in a minute, as well as potential players that are moving on from the New York Rangers and potentially people going on to the New York Islanders. Let's get to our NHL Bar Talk.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. You're so confident you're buying around, so still have a beer. Oh my God, I need a shot. I need a shot bad. Play along down in the comments below, everybody. No, Maddie, no.
Mark doing a little Dikembe in the tumble. Not in my house.
No. Not today. All right. And by the way, if you haven't watched them already, watch our season wrap up of the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. Oh, wow. If it's a Globetrotters dunk contest, then that's something better. Because I mean, hell, they use the ladder. So anyway, guys, reports right now. Keandre Miller is on the trade market, according to Larry Brooks, and Mika Zibanejad might be amenable to waiving his no move clause if asked. I almost said no trade clause. Anthony, you sly devil. Anyway.
What did Anthony change now?
He changed Keandre Miller's first name to Reggie. So let me give you this one.
Come on, man. I'm putting this shit together, too.
All right. So Keandre Miller and Mika Zibanejad have played their last games for the New York Rangers. Mr. Fulkowski.
So since the question is and, which means both of them have played, I can only go beer here because Zibanejad is really the issue. I think Miller is probably gone. I think they don't want to give him that deal. Like I've been talking about for a while. I don't know how you can give him that deal when oh man.
Actually, that one wasn't me either.
So but yeah, I gotta go beer. I think that it's too expensive for Miller. I don't know if Mika Zibanejad will be moved. I do think he will be more open to it. I just don't. I'm not 110% sure on Zibanejad. I'm pretty sure Miller's gone now.
Anthony, what do you think? Are both of them out of New York?
No, because it's both. I'm gonna say shot. I think Keandre Miller is gonna go for sure. But Zibanejad, I mean, even with Kreider going, I think that yes, it does increase the chances of maybe he'd waive. But I think he spoke with Sullivan. I think they're kind of both on the same page. I think Zibanejad doesn't want to go anywhere. So I think ultimately he sticks to sticking to his guns, and he doesn't waive. But it is more of a chance of Kreider gone, but still not convinced Zibanejad's going to go. So for that reason, I'm going to say shot. But I do think Keandre Miller is going to probably definitely be traded.
I'm actually going to go round on this one, guys. Why not? Because we're thinking about a lot of factors when it comes to Mika Zibanejad right now. Sure, yeah, he likes New York. Sure, he loved Chris Kreider. Sure, he's signed for the rest of time as far as that contract goes. You know what we haven't asked him? Do you like playing the wing? Because is he a wing? Does he still think he's a center? If he thinks he's a center, send him to someplace that needs a center. That's the short answer on that one. And he'll want to go there. He'll go to anywhere that needs a center. What, the Nashville Predators? Sure, why not? Go over there. Because if he wants to be a wing, and I understand he played well as a wing, and he played well after January 1st, and for at least 2 of those months, he was a wing. But he was back at center at the end of the year.
There's an update. Hold on. Update. Larry Brooks, as of per 2 minutes ago. I'm told that Kreider's camp had informed Drury that he would be amenable to going to Anaheim before negotiations began. After being informed last night of the prospective deal, Kreider is now processing it all and going through his due diligence before he signs off on it. There is no separation here between Kreider and Anaheim.
Okay.
So this is likely, if this is not done today, I'd be shocked if this was not done by Friday.
Well, hopefully it's done as the show's going on because, I want to actually
that
have
would
a night.
Be great. I mean, then again,
we basically said everything we needed to say.
I may not be available later. That's the only problem.
Yeah, no. We basically said everything we need to say about this right now. But as far as this goes, if Mika Zibanejad is looking at himself in the mirror and saying, I'm really a franchise center, then he'll waive. He'll waive to go anywhere right now. And then again, he's already got his money, so he might want to stay. I'm still going to go around because I think Chris Drury is going to look to move on from him.
See, that's the thing. I agree that Chris Drury will look to move on, but is it Mika Zibanejad that will agree to move on? I don't know. Well,
that's going to be very interesting to see how this is going on because now we know Chris Drury will do anything to move on from a player, which, by the way, is sort of what your GM should do. Let's go to a team that might be adding players. Well, they're definitely adding at least one. The New York Islanders with the number 1 draft pick. You got Stefan Rosner, who is saying right now that the Islanders GM Matthew Darsh has spoken to Utah about the 4th overall pick, which a lot of us are projecting is where James Hagens is going to land. Anthony, the Islanders will come away with Schaefer and Hagens.
Well, they're definitely going to get Schaefer if they want. They have the first pick. He's going to be the guy likely. So I think I can only answer this with beer. I mean, I can't say it's definitely going to happen, and I also think there's also a possibility it could happen. So I'm not going to say shot. The one thing I know, obviously, the Islanders have spoke to Utah about the 4th overall pick, as Rosner reported. There have been reports from Friedman that Utah is looking to do something. They kind of got their hand in everything. They've been open to trading that pick. And then, Mark, the one part of this that you didn't show on here that I showed you in text was which I don't know why you didn't, the report from Rachel Dorriere from ESPN, who said that, there are a few sources saying that if James Hagens is still there after the 3rd pick, that the Islanders are going to try to put together a package to acquire such pick to get Hagens. And she mentioned that, that package is rumored to be a bunch of future picks, or early picks, I think were her words. So, and the last part of that is, I can tell you ownership wants James Hagens. They want him. I think they understand that, Schaefer's a top-ranked guy. I also think that they don't want to be hypocrites. They gave Matthew Darsh full autonomy over hockey operations. So I don't think they want to try to force his hand and make him select Hagens first. But at the same time, again, they do want Hagens. So when you combine all those things, Rosner's report, Rachel's report, Friedman's report, I think there is smoke there. I think Utah would be open to making a deal if the Islanders put together the right package. So we'll see, but it's possible. It's just a matter of how much the Islanders offer Utah, what they ask for, etc. But it's a beer for me.
Anthony, by the way, to answer your question that I put in the Rosner one, because I know you were going to include the other one. I was going to use the metaphor. I was bringing the bread. You were going to bring the meat. So I didn't know whether or not that was going to get destroyed. Philk, the Islanders will come away with Matthew Schaefer and James Hagens.
That's a lot. I mean, that would be the dream scenario for the Islanders, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't want to get a franchise possibly changing defenseman and at the very least probably a number 1 center? I just think, like, I'm going to say shot. I don't know how you get that done. Like, how do you get that done without giving up some of the assets that you want to keep here? That's what I want to know. And that's going to be tough for me because that 4th pick, even in this draft, is still got to be highly valued. It's a top 5 pick. Like, you're still getting I would still say at least a top end, if not franchise type talent. I mean, I know this draft is considered weak, but it's because the top 5 or 10, the top 5, and then there's a drop off. And then there's another drop off after like 10. So I can't see it. I can't. If they find a way to get it done, good for them. Because that's the type of draft that can. I would say you win draft. I don't care what the rest of your draft is. You come away with those 2 in the top 5 somehow, you win the draft. So.
Anthony and I talked about this when we put this topic together, and I was at shot when I originally started. And then I went all the way up to round in my head a little bit because he kind of talked me into this. I'm going back down to beer. The reason why is because I think the Islanders have draft capital as far as like draft picks go, they got a ton of it. You can swap the draft pick for next year, which is going to be a loaded draft, even in Colorado's case, and you can maybe pack it. Yeah.
Remember, they have 2 firsts next year in a draft that's supposed to be very good. They could trade their own first and Colorado's first to Utah.
Or whichever one's higher.
Yeah. So,
but Utah doesn't. They don't want futures though. That's that's a problem.
See, what
are you moving that's helping Utah to get that pick and not
Anthony?
Trading down? That's what I want to know.
Anthony, who are they going to move?
I'm doing something for Ellie right now.
Sorry about that. The man who was sports talk and parenting at the same time.
Directing that question at Anthony. I'm just asking.
No. Well, that's exactly. I was directing it at Anthony because I wanted.
No, I know.
His answer to me was Noah Dobson.
I know.
That's what we come back to. Noah Dobson.
I don't think Dobson gets you that on his own. I don't. I really don't. And somebody in the chat said trade Zibanejad for the 4th overall. Zibanejad does not have that type of value on his own, and he doesn't fit Utah's timeline. I mean, can he be productive there? Absolutely. I think he can, especially with the younger legs around him. But how does he fit that timeline? He doesn't.
See, this is why I wanted to go round on this, because I think the Islanders have identified. Now they're saying there's sort of this growing consensus. Schaefer is the number 1 guy. And with the Islanders, they still have identified that they want to go get Hagens as well. So they're not going to compromise from Hagens. So now they have to find a way to get back into the top 5 to go get they're not going to compromise on Schaefer. They're going to draft them. So they're going to go back into the top 5 to go get Hagens. Potentially, he could drop a little bit more. That is in the cards. I've seen some mocks that had him at 8, which I found funny. But the thing is, Phil, if the Islanders are going to get aggressive, they can do it with the draft pick capital and also that little carrot to go. We got 2 draft picks in the next first round. If you offer somebody 2 draft picks next year, maybe that's something. Maybe that makes everybody go.
But again, they're not looking for futures. They're looking for immediate help, and that's
correct. But they could still get it elsewhere. And
I understand that. But the thing is that the immediate help that they need, they don't need to trade for immediate help. They can get immediate help in the form of a Mitch Marner. And I do think that Mitch Marner has Utah near the top of his list.
That's correct too.
That he's up there. They could go after other options in free agency, but I'm just saying, first round picks don't do a lot for them right now. They don't. They really don't, especially next year. That doesn't do anything for them. So they're going to go and trade for a pick or 2 picks next year, and then they're going to have to trade for somebody now. I mean, just for me, it complicates things. Like see, this is a good point from JE. They're almost at their limit of entry-level contracts.
Another case could be you could go 2 first-round picks and Alexander Romanov.
NHL players. Are they going and getting Peterka? Are they going and making a deal for someone like Rasmus Dahlin or Tage Thompson? I mean, the picks just don't mean anything to them right now. Ryan Smith has let it known publicly that he wants this team to make the playoffs like this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to be tough for them to do because that's a loaded.
I don't think that does anything for them. Romanov is a good defenseman, but he is not the needle mover that they need. You are going to need a legitimate needle mover. And
I don't think the Islanders would do this, but if they offered Dobson in both their first next year, I don't think anyone in a Gavin McKenna draft, I don't think Utah would say no to that. Getting 2 first-round picks in a McKenna draft.
But the Islanders in Colorado are not going to have picks good enough to get you into that lottery.
I mean, look at the Islanders this year. They were in the lottery.
Right? Yeah, but they didn't. So again, that's rarity. Where did the Islanders finish in the standings?
This year?
Where did they finish in the standings?
Yeah, they moved up a bunch of spots. They won the lottery.
Yeah, and how many times has that happened over the last 10 years? where a team has moved up that many spots to get one.
Not many.
Exactly.
I can answer that one.
That's a very, very rare thing to happen. And the Islanders are not going to be a lottery team next year. I don't.
It depends on how far they tear it down to the studs. But that's if they're going to do that. They're still going to look to try to fill up UBS, so they might still try to be a playoff team.
They're going to tear it down to the studs.
Yeah, well, that's another question too. Because they got to. They're sort of a.
And I don't think the Islanders can win the lottery 2 years in a row.
We'll save the rest of that talk for that for later dates because we're going to need to fill up the summer. Let's go right back to the Stanley Cup Finals, guys. Connor McDavid right now is 31 points. No player has ever scored 40 points in back-to-back playoff seasons. And as you guys know, he had 8 points in games 4 through 7 last year. Anthony, no, Phil, no, you know what? I'll start this one, guys. Connor McDavid will have another 40-point postseason. I'll start off after reconsidering, guys. Shot. I think this McDavid, I think he's going to be more concerned about defending, back-checking, and doing everything it takes to get the team to win. I don't think he's going to be concentrating on points. And I just kind of don't see. I think there was a blowout in one of those games last year. This is going to be a tighter series between the Oilers and the Panthers. I think the Oilers are going to prioritize winning. I don't think there's going to be that big win for them. Phil.
I would say beer. I think if he would have had a couple of points in the game the other night, I think I would have been leaning a little more towards round then. But I do think that he's going to have to if they're going to win this series, I think. I think he's going to need to go off again, and just absolutely go off. That he is focusing a little more on his defense than his offense this time around. And I don't think he's just completely shutting out the idea of trying to create points, obviously, but I just think there's a little more of a focus on the 200-foot game this time around. They're going to come back. I could see him having another 2 or 3 points next game. I really could. I could see him bouncing back and having a big game. And then we're talking about him having 34 points at that point.
He was still need 6 in the final 3
games left in that series, and three games to score a total of 6 points. McDavid could do that in his sleep if he wanted to. So, I'm going to say beer, but it's definitely not a shot at this point, and definitely not a round. So I got to go beer.
Anthony, which do you think?
Is he frozen?
I think he froze.
Yeah, it's a beer. I mean, someone.
Okay, there we go.
But I think it's going to be hard, especially with how Florida is defending and playing defense.
He's freezing a bit.
All right, we'll get him back in 1 second. Again, I think this is going to be a tighter series than what it was last year. You saw how tight the last rematch was, which was 2009, and that was the Detroit and the Pittsburgh series. That was a tight, much tighter defensive series the entire time. I don't think there was a blowout in any of those games. I just don't see that big blowout game because I know in Florida he had a multi-point game in Florida and at least. I got to look at the logs again. Sorry, guys. Take it by surprise on this. All right. We're trying to get Anthony back as soon as possible, but let's keep going. Philk. They handed out the Norris Trophy today, and the Norris Trophy winner was Cale Makar. 176 first-place votes. In the second place, Zach Werenski, who notched the 13 first-place votes. Philk, Zach Werenski was robbed the Norris Trophy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go around on this. I don't understand how the voting was so lopsided. I get Cale Makar had a great season. I mean, he puts up the points for me. I don't think he's the greatest defensively. He's probably a little better than some give credit to. He had 92 points and 30 goals, which is, again, a phenomenal season for a defenseman. But Zach Werenski was over a point per game on a team that was cast off before the start of the year, especially with the unfortunate tragic death of Johnny Gaudreau, and was a complete play driver. Like, he was the Columbus Blue Jackets this year. And if you take Zach Werenski away from them, they don't finish with 40 wins and 89 points. That's a borderline, like, that's a team that probably wins the draft lottery. And they get the first overall pick. I mean, Kirill Marchenko was their next highest scorer, was 74 points. And then they had no others that finished with above 60. Ken Johnson Johnson and Monahan probably would have, if not for missing the games that they missed. But the scoring depth just kind of goes down a bit after that. So for me, it's just Canadian media and East Coast and Canadian media bias there. Just how do you let Cale Makar just get all those votes and you're not looking at the complete game? Like, yeah, again, this goes back to the James Norris and needing a Bobby Orr trophy. You need a Bobby Orr trophy because Cale Makar was not, in my opinion, was not the best defenseman this year. It was Zach Werenski.
I'm going to get into my thoughts on a second, but first, Anthony, what do you think? Was Zach Werenski robbed of the Norris?
Seems like Anthony, you're muted.
You muted, Ant.
Werenski plays
Still
a lot
muted.
less
Oh, there you
talent
go.
than Cale Makar, and he had 82 points in 81 games. So I think he should have won it. But let's face it, the league votes with almost like the PWHA, almost like closed-minded mindsets. I feel like they don't look at things maybe a little more objectively than they should and look past just pure stats. But I think they see Cale Makar on a very good team. He's the best skating defenseman in the league. I mean, you might even say he's one of the best skaters, regardless of position in the league. And they see the gaudy numbers that he puts up, and they just kind of can't help themselves. They just vote for him. So, yeah, I think this is a round for me. I would have given it to Werenski, especially with the year that he went through, with the tragedy the Blue Jackets dealt with, and then him leading that team and being the backbone of their team. He should have absolutely won it. But honestly, Cale Makar could run the table here with the Norris Trophy. He's not going anywhere. He's going to continue to be Cale Makar. So unless somebody significantly outplays him, like a Quinn Hughes, I think Makar I think he is going to win whole boatload more of Norris trophies. But unfortunately, this is just how people vote. But it shouldn't have been a blowout in the way it was at all.
Agreed, Anthony. The blowout was an absolute joke. Let me just say this first. Yeah, Zach Werenski was robbed. I'm not arguing this as like, oh no, I want the American guy to win. No, he was robbed because part of it has to do with the fact that, look, it was Cale Makar worthy of it? Of course he was. But 176-13, the way the blowout was. Let me go with this one for a second, guys. The Colorado Avalanche have the 12th best goals against average, goals allowed in the NHL this year. Where are the Columbus Blue Jackets? Oh, and they're 25th with 267. As a matter of fact, they were even in goal differential this year. Let's go to the numbers. Yeah, Makar's a plus 28, and that's great. Werenski was a plus 12 on a team with an even goal differential. I mean, on the other hand, with Makar, they were a plus. They were a plus 42. So you also look at the talent
All
pool.
hail King.
Yeah, all hail.
He said all hail Kale, I think.
Oh yeah, of course, all hail Cal.
Yeah.
And by the way, Anthony, you're right about this. A little bit of the Canadian hockey bias, but you get the American, the one last year, playing in the Canadian market. So it's one of those things. I'm all for Cale Makar winning it, but also have some consistency. Because the year that Cale Makar won his first, Roman Josi should have beat him, who almost had 100 points on a far less talented team than what he was going. And he was
Cale Makar had 4 other Colorado Avalanche in the top 20 in scoring that year. Roman Josi was the number 1 scorer on the Nashville Predators and had more points than Makar.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, I don't understand it, because if they're looking at overall defensive impact, I don't understand how you can argue that Cale Makar has a better overall defensive impact than Zach Werenski this year. I don't. And, you know, if you want to try to tell me that Roman Josi's not the greatest defensively, neither is Cale Makar. And Cale Makar plays with a guy that should take away votes from him in Devon Toews.
Yeah. Agreed. And also, on top of it,
You know,
go ahead, Anthony.
I was gonna say Makar's not the greatest defensively, but you know what it is about him? He skates so damn well. He's never out of a play, and he uses that as his greatest asset to defend. I mean, he can close gaps as quickly as anybody, which is just how well he skates, especially laterally from side to side. So yeah, he's not the best defensively in terms of actually like defending, but his skating ability is basically how he defends, because he's such an unreal skater.
And look, I would love to have Cale Makar on my team. I take him every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But on top of it, I'm trying to figure out the reasoning from the professional hockey. Sorry, Ant?
Do you think he could dominate this trophy for the next number of years?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why right off the bat. It's because, like what you said before, the voters are very close-minded. Like the Selke Trophy, a lot of these voters don't watch all these guys play. They're going on reputation. They're going on name. They're going on reputation.
Exactly.
And that's why
100%.
I think Cale Makar has a chance to repeat. I think it's going to be between him and Quinn Hughes. And if Adam Fox can storm back, Adam Fox would probably be the other guy that I think will be there. But Zach Werenski should have absolutely won it this year. And Cale Makar shouldn't have won in 21-22. Should have been Josi.
But when Cale Makar should have won, you could argue was when he lost to Erik Karlsson. Because if you're going to...
That's the year that he should have won.
Here's the thing. If you're going to turn around and say, oh, this guy's the best defenseman. Okay. Well, somebody outscored him on a lesser team and has better numbers. All right. Well, we'll give it to the guy with the lesser team. Then they give it to Karlsson. Okay. Then why aren't you giving it to Werenski? I mean,
Here's what I don't get.
And the second best player in the league is Dave McKinnon.
They have a hard-on for points. But the thing is that there's precedent for points not being the be-all, end-all. Like, look at when Al McInnes scored 100 points in 90-91, and he lost the Norris Trophy to Ray Bourque. And I get it, Ray Bourque had been the guy that was really – he had a couple of Norris Trophies by then. I understand it. But, like, stop looking at just the points. Start looking at the play. Like, if you need to start looking at the analytics to help you understand the play a little bit, then okay, don't use them as gospel, but watch these guys play. And I understand it is tough to watch a guy from another team play on a nightly basis and formulate opinions about him. But you know what? You should be doing so as writers. It is your job. And I don't think they do enough of it.
I agree with you 100% on that one, Phil, because again, shouldn't have been this much of a blowout. If it was like Makar won by one first place vote, fine. I'd be okay with that. But because he did score 30 goals this year, we're not taking anything away from Makar. We're taking everything. We're trying to give more credit to Zach Werenski on this one.
No, it's not just that, but we're also trying to point out that the writers aren't doing their jobs. Like, there's no way this should have been a blowout. If you wanted to tell me that Cale Makar won it, okay. Fine. Not understandable. Cale Makar is great. He's phenomenal. But to have him blow out Zach Werenski in that watching. Like, you weren't watching Zach Werenski if you think that Kel McCarr was that much better than Zach Werenski. That's the point. And that's why I'm losing a lot of faith and respect in the voting process and the voters.
Well, one guy that had a blowout his way happened in the Rookie of the Year voting. But first, I need to give credit where credit's due. We did our midseason Rookie of the Year awards. We had 3 different Rookie of the Years. The guy in the bottom is the one that picked Lane Hutson to win the Calder Trophy. He had 165 first-place votes to Dustin Wolf's 15 first-place votes. Anthony, going with you. Lane Hutson was the clear Rookie of the Year.
By the way, Cole Hutson is the Washington Capitals prospect.
You monster. All right.
Going to be very good.
Yeah,
Actually,
all right.
Ready is
Lane Hutson, 165 first place votes. Anthony, Lane Hutson was the clear Rookie of the Year winner.
I mean, I think what he did as a 21-year-old defenseman having 60 assists is just ridiculous. And the Montreal Canadiens team, don't get me wrong. I mean, they have talent. Suzuki and Caulfield are great, but other than that, I mean, Josh Anderson, Slafkovsky, I mean, none of these guys are huge point getters. So the fact that he did this with really only 2 guys that are like you could consider very good, I think is extremely impressive. So for me, I'm going to go round. You know, if he was a forward, I'd probably say Beer because I think other guys were just as good. I mean, Celebrini. But doing what he did as a rookie defenseman for me is just a little more impressive than any of the other rookies and what they did. So I'll say round on that for me.
Phil, what do you think?
Beer. I actually know what I'm gonna go shot. I just all right. You want to tell me that again that he won? Okay, fine. Got no problem with it. He had a hell of a case for it, and he definitely deserved it. I'll give him that. But clear to the point where he blew out everybody in the voting? No. I'm sorry. If you watched Macklin, Celebrini in San Jose, for a player to come up to be as good as he was on both sides of the puck and impact the game the way that he impacted the game for a team that bad, I'm sorry, you're not watching him. I can't in honest faith say that I again have faith and respect in the voting process. Look at what Macklin Celebrini did. 25 goals, 63 points in 70 games. The guy was playing near Selke caliber defense as a rookie. And yeah, the plus minus isn't going to show it because it's a bad team. Again, remember, 2 years ago, Carlson scored 100 points and was a minus. He was still a minus. The only plus player on San Jose within the top, actually the only plus player on the team in general was Fabian Zetterlund with a +8, and he was traded. Everyone else on the team was a minus. Everyone. I mean, William Eklund was their second highest scorer. Tyler Toffoli had 30 goals, but only 54 points. And then there's Will Smith, Mikael Granlund, who was traded, Zetterlund, who was traded, Alex Wenberg. What did this team have? This team had nothing. And Celebrini still dominated on both sides of the puck. I'm sorry, but clear? No. But it's, if you want to tell me Rookie of the Year, yes, again. But clear to the point where the voting is a blowout, and Celebrini wasn't even number 2 in voting. Like, Wolf was very good, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to take away from Calgary not making the playoffs and say, oh, he can't be Rookie of the Year because Calgary wasn't a playoff team, then it's got to be Celebrini's at least got to be number 2 at that point. Because he's the guy that's driving the play. He's the guy that's playing more minutes. He's the guy that's in there more. He's taking on their top matchups And he's matching up as a defensive center, too. Like, how many rookies come along and do that? How many rookies can you think of that have come along and have done that in the cap era? Sidney Crosby wasn't doing that as an 18-year-old. Tell you that right now. So, I mean, I don't know who the hell's watching Macklin Celebrini, and I get it. San Jose, if you're an East Coaster, they start at 10, 10:30. I understand it's tough to watch late games, but you're not watching this kid.
Phil, I'm going to go beer on this one because unfortunately I'm going to have to talk out of both sides of my mouth on this one. Because if you go from the Four Nations break, here are the leading scorers among defensemen. Now, this is just leading scorers. Cale Makar, 29 points. Rasmus Dahlin, 26 points. Lane Hutson, 25 points. Zach Werenski, 23 points. Then, I know everybody wants to say, Mark, it's an archaic stat. What are you doing? Plus minus. He was a plus 18, best in the NHL among the defensemen at that time. And he had 16 even strength points and 9 power play points. So he finished well. I'll give him that. Let's go over to the Calgary Flames for a minute. I know you misspoke. Actually said Calgary for San Jose, or you're talking about the guy that finished second, which was Dustin Wolf, who he played on a team with a negative 26 goal differential. And he has better goaltending stats than Igor Shesterkin, Jake Ottinger, and Ilya Sorokin. What are we doing here, guys? I mean, I like the way Lane Hutson finished. Just say you gave it to Lane Hutson because Montreal made the playoffs and no one else did. And he finished strong. Great. I mean, how is Celebrini going to even compete this year if that was the case? Or for that matter, Matvei Michkov, who also turned in a great rookie season, but then got a little bit torched at the end. Let's be honest about that one. So that we can now make that into a verb, the way he treats rookies. But this is something that I think he deserved. It's another case the same way of Makar, Phil. I think Hutson deserved it in the end. But there was more of an argument if you're saying rookie of the year. Dustin Wolf was like Spider-Man, just trying to hold everything together in Spider-Man Homecoming, trying to keep that ferry together. And eventually, Tony Stark fixed it, but that's a different story. I mean, he was keeping the Calgary Flames in the playoff race, 11th in save percentage, and better than guys that you're looking over going, oh, they'll clearly Igor Shesterkin's the best goalie in the league. A rookie just beat him in save percentage, guys, on a bad team, a very bad team. So let's move on to the next one, and that the Dallas Stars have Jason Robertson on the block. You know, there's a lot of Eastern Conference teams that are kind of poking around on that, Phil, and Jason Robertson.
The New York Rangers.
Hopefully in the New York Rangers. But Jason Robertson will be moved to the Eastern Conference.
I'm going to have to go beer. It's a coin flip right now. It's obviously a 1 in 2 chance that he gets dealt. There are 32 total teams. There's, I guess, slightly more odds because he's in the West, but I still think it's a coin flip at best. And that's it. I think LA might be in on him.
LA.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine Dallas would probably want to move him east so they don't have to see him on a regular basis. So that would probably give a little greater odds to the Eastern Conference. But I still think it's a coin flip. I still think you got to deal him where you're going to get the best return. That's a move that could really, really hurt you if you don't get a good return. Oh, I'm just going to deal him east so we don't have to deal with him, and I'm going to take a lesser return. I mean, this is a prime asset. It's restricted free agent. He's going to need a new deal after this deal ends. But, I mean, Dallas is going to have a lot of cap issues. So they may end up – if I'm Dallas, I would rather hold on to him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're still going to have cap issues regardless because even with losing Duchesne, which is not a big salary, and Jamie Benn's $9.5 million, I mean, they're going to have to get rid of the salary elsewhere. So you're probably going to have to look at trying to get rid of Lyubushkin and Dumba. I mean, Cody Cece's money comes off the books because he's done. But Lyubushkin has 3 years left. Dumba has 2 years left. And those contracts Lyubushkin's is a little more bearable than Dumba because Dumba is just horrible at both ends. But you're going to have to probably move those guys, and if you want to free up salary. So, I mean, but maybe there's something going on behind the scenes with Robertson. So, Sagan's not going anywhere, buddy. He is not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go beer on this one as well, because I think if he is going to get moved, they're going to want to move the Eastern Conference. You've seen a bunch of tweets about the Rangers kicking the tires. Only a matter of time until every team in the Eastern Conference kicks the tires. Why wouldn't the Carolina Hurricanes kick the tires on them? Why wouldn't the Toronto Maple Leafs? Maybe, they already had his brother for years, but they're going to lose Mitch Marner. Why not try to get Jason Robertson? This is a guy that scored 100 points 2 years ago, and then back-to-back years of 80 points. Now, the other thing to mention in with this is you're going to get some people that are going to say, oh, shot mark, he's not a playoff player. He had 18 points in 19 games 2 years ago. He had 16 points in 19 games last year, including a multi-goal game against the Edmonton Oilers, and then 6 points in 11 games this year. This is also where Pete DeBoer just tends to lose people too, the longer he has them. So, and it sounds like I blame Pete DeBoer for a lot of things because it's kind of his pattern. And I think initially guys are good, and then the messages just gets out. I think if they're going to move him, it's going to be the East, but also as some of the guys I mentioned in the comments, it's got to be beer because A, what if they get the best package that they can out of a Western Conference team? And B, why not just hold on to him? That's a better option, I think. But speaking about another guy who's in the West, went from the East to the West, and his contract expires next year, and that's Jack Eichel. His current contract that he signed with the Buffalo Sabres, I may add, expires July 1st of 2026. Jack Eichel will not be a Vegas Golden Knight opening night of 2026. Yeah, this is a tough one.
I don't know if I can answer anything other than beer. I can't. I can tell you right now, like, if he hits free agency, there is going to be an absolute drove of suitors for him. Like, you know what? And maybe David Wood is right about this. That can absolutely happen too. It's tough. It's really tough. I would be shocked too if he doesn't test free agency at the least, but I could see him staying. He seems to love it out there. He's won a cup. Fans love him there. I imagine the quality of living in Vegas is pretty awesome. I mean, it's the weather in the wintertime is great. Property taxes are lesser out there. State tax, squadoosh. Yeah, I can only go beer here because I would be shocked if he doesn't test free agency. That's John Tavares. John Tavares would be the one that I would think of.
Yeah,
and John Tavares it's close because Tavares, was a guy that had, was a top 3, finalist for a scoring trophy and an MVP. That was probably the other guy that I could think of that the last time that really kind of hit free agency. And I get what you're trying to say there, that guys of his ilk do not hit it often. You're right, but I don't know how you can't turn around and at least try to see like what's out there, and then at least bring that back to Vegas and say, hey, this is what I've got. What are you going to do for me?
I'm going to go shot. I think he's going to be a Golden Knight for the rest of his career. I was trying to crunch this down, Phil. I'm looking at where he is right now. He's 28 years old. He's won a Stanley Cup. He just turned in, arguably, no, I'm not going to argue about it, his best individual season of his career. 28 goals, 66 assists, 94 points, plus 32. I'm sorry. I'm still going to use that stat because it still has value. I mean, he's the king of Vegas right now. He's really peaking. And you know what, Phil? And this is the reason why I think I'm going to say this. And look, he might be tempted by free agency. I think at very most, they look into him in Vegas, or maybe he looks into free agency. I think he re-ups because Vegas is almost the opposite of Buffalo.
Possible.
He was in Buffalo, the team that was trying to rebuild, that every move they made is a wrong one. And then they're like, kind of this. He went through the worst season you ever could with the Buffalo Sabres in the shortened season. Health problems galore. He goes to Vegas. He's treated like gold and goes on to win a Stanley Cup. Arguably could have been a Conn Smythe in that, along with Mark Stone. You could have made an argument for him too. Jonathan Marchand deservedly won it. But you look at the season he just put together. Look, I think he's crazy if he leaves. Sign the big deal with Vegas, and they'll sign you. How much more of a big deal can you possibly get? He's already making $10 million. So, no, stick with Vegas. Stick with that one. All right, guys, that's the end of Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. And it was a fantastic round of conversation today. There were no layups, guys. How about that one? But, Phil, I wish I had Anthony for some of these because we're going to have some. Oh, no. You know what? Did I just have a magic lamp? By the way, guys, I just want to also say I watched DuckTales, the DuckTales movie, the one where they found the magic lamp. And I didn't know Rip Torn was the voice of the genie. That's one thing. But me and my wife watched that the other day. Still a classic. Still great, as well as Aladdin. But it was like I just made the wish and Anthony just appeared just like that. So there must have been a genie calling out for you, Anthony. Good, because I have you back for the Pick Ems, Anthony. And that's what I really want to do. We'll get to them in 1 second. I accidentally clicked that on. Well, we'll start with this one. Anthony started. Actually, hold on. Before we get away, guys, I'm sorry. Sorry to get away.
No spoilers.
Before we get away, Anthony, do you think Jack Eichel will be a Vegas Golden Knight next year, in opening night? Next calendar year, 2026.
Yeah, well, opening night 2026, he means.
Yeah, I figured as much. I don't know. It's really hard to say. It's a place that people really don't want to leave. I mean, no state income tax, good team, good ownership. I'm going to go shot.
Yeah, that's what I went to, Anthony. And also I cited the fact that with Buffalo, it was just such an abstract disaster. Vegas has been the opposite of that. All right, we got you back. All right.
Yeah, he frozen right
now. Yeah, I thought you froze for a second, Ant.
No, he is frozen.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the Big Apple Hockey Pick'ems as we wait for Anthony to get back on. Oh, wait, there he is. All right, got you.
Yeah, he's still but he's like he's going in and out. It's freezing.
This is Lou doing this. Lou is trying to get back one more time. Phil, we'll start with you. The bigger story: if the Stanley Cup Finals continues in the way it's going right now? Canada's Cup Drought or the state of Florida's Dynasty?
Canada's Cup Drought's been going on for so long that it's also like it's almost become like a secondhand type thing for me. I would say maybe the state of Florida Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm very much torn on this one. Anybody wants to say it's a layup is wrong, because if you just do the calculations on the math, there's 7 Canadian teams. There's so that they make about almost 30% of the league. They've had 30 years to crack this. The very next year after Montreal, Vancouver made it to Game 7, lost to the Rangers. Vancouver in 2011 made it to Game 7 and lost to Boston. Ottawa didn't win a single game versus Anaheim. Toronto hasn't made it back. Famously, we all know about that. Winnipeg's only had about 10 years, 12 years to try to crack this. So give them a little bit of a break. But you're talking about, on the other hand, with this, well, let me finish with the Canadian part of this. You got the best player in the league right now putting up 2 historic playoff runs, and they still can't get it done. That's going to make you think like there's a bigger curse on Canada winning a cup. Never mind the Toronto Maple Leafs. Going over to Florida, though, you have 2 teams that have now, they've developed well. They've showed the league how it's done. I don't want to hear about the no state income tax as far as that goes, because when it was 15 years ago, you couldn't find players that want to go play over there. And look at what Nashville has done with their spending. So it's a testament to the way they're running their organizations in Florida, and that Florida is taking a cue from the Lightning and the Blackhawks. Anthony, which one's the bigger story?
I mean, it's got to be the New York Islanders dynasty.
The drive for 5.
I mean, four in a row, 19 straight consecutive playoff series wins, Mark. Come on. I'm gonna go Canada's Cup Drought just because it's longer. I mean, Florida's been dominating for a few years now, but Canada hasn't won a cup since 1993. So I lean a little bit more towards Canada's Cup Drought.
Even though the state of Florida has been in the last 6 Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think of it this way, like the state of Florida winning it is huge for hockey in general. Like Gary Bettman especially wants these markets to be competitive and win, because this has been his pet project going back 30 years now. So Canada only has 7 teams in a 32-team league. I mean, the numbers are kind of against them, and it's what they're so in the West, there's Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, and I think that's it, because in the East there's Montreal, Toronto.
You forgot about Edmonton.
Oh, and Edmonton, yeah, that's 4. Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa in the East. So it's 7 teams. Yeah, it's Matt Duchene is Anthony saying from James Myrtle, TSN. Matt Duchene probably going to re-sign with Dallas. Okay,
nice.
So, but yeah, I just think that this is bigger for hockey, and Florida is starting to become a little more of a hockey hotbed, especially with roller hockey. Roller hockey is like really gaining a lot of steam down there. So if Florida could become like a hotbed for hockey, that opens up a lot more expansion in a lot of other non-traditional markets. Yes.
I had a little bit of a rant just before we move on to the next one. That there's a lot of fans that are saying, oh, they're just fair weather fans. They don't care. They're not passionate. Florida fans, they tend to sit on their hands. They're not like New York fans. They're not like fans around the place. Brad Marchand scores the first goal, or Marchand. I always mispronounce him. Marchand scores the first goal on Monday night, and that place didn't erupt. It wasn't overflowing with intensity that you would see, say, in Edmonton. But the way they are in every single sport, even the Miami Dolphins, their thing is just to go fins up. That's just it. So they're not going to be the most passionate fans, but they will be passionately coming back. I mean, if you want to know their real passions, college football is always their real passion. All right. So, guys, let's look around the front of the net. Anthony, Sam Bennett's been making a lot of noise in front of the net. You'd think it would be somebody like Bo Bennett that would have played like that, but no, Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett near the goal. Dirty, or is it gamesmanship?
Are you talking like just this year or just the entirety?
In general, you could go with the entire playoffs too.
I'm gonna go gamesmanship. I think because even remember after that incident in Toronto, Stolar said that he thinks that it was that Bennett didn't try to do that intentionally to him. So I think Bennett just plays on that line. I think sometimes he's maybe gone a little bit over it at times, but in instances to his interactions with goalies, I don't think he's ever purposely done anything dirty. I just think he knows what he's doing. He knows he's trying to get in their kitchen, but I don't think he's trying to actually be dirty. So I'll say gamesmanship.
Phil, which one?
I don't know if I can say gamesmanship. I don't know if I could give this guy a benefit of the doubt. I don't. I mean, he's just a dirty player. He really is. So I'm going to have to go dirty just because I don't think it's. I think there maybe there is an element of gamesmanship to it, but if you told me that guy wasn't thinking, how can I hurt this guy and take this guy out of a series and make it look like it was a complete accident. Yeah, I think if you put him to a polygraph and asked him if he was trying to hurt goalies, I think he'd fail the polygraph.
Guys, I got to go dirty 100%. I think maybe the other night was a little bit of gamesmanship versus when Ekholm shoved him a little bit and he just kind of went a little bit limp. But I can't defend him after the Anthony Stolarz incident where he extends his elbow and the same play happened against Freddie Anderson and he missed and Freddie Anderson took exception to it. This guy's a dirty player. Now, if he's your dirty player, by all means, go ahead, love him. If you're playing against him, and a lot of other teams are going to be next year, this is a guy you want in the playoffs, but also he's a dirty player. No ifs, ands, or buts. And then it takes a little bit of time to get that reputation away. Brad Marchand was a dirty player too. Remember him kneeing James Neal in the head when he was laying on the ice. Like, it's just going to happen. It's stuff that goes on. Anthony, we're going to go right back to you. More intriguing offseason UFA, Mitch Marner or Sam Bennett?
Ryan Donato.
No.
I think it's Marner. I know Bennett's having their insane playoff run and he's going to get his bag, but I gotta go Mitch Marner. He's the premier free agent. There's going to be a boatload of teams after him. I think he's. There have been reports you've seen the last couple of days saying they can see Anaheim offering $14 million, and these crazy numbers. I think a team's going to reach deep into their pocketbooks and they're going to really pay this man. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams bidding for his services. So Whereas Bennett, I think if he hits the open market, he's going to be bidding more. But from what I'm hearing, I think he wants to stay in Florida. So I'm going to go Mitch Marner.
Phil, what do you think? Marner or Bennett?
I'm going to go Bennett. And I think really intriguing is kind of a vague word to use. I get intriguing can be intriguing in many different ways. Like who has the bigger AAV, who has more teams involved. I think Bennett's more intriguing because I think there will be teams that will overpay him. And it's intriguing to see how high they'll go on the AAV for him to overpay him. But Frank Saravalli brought up some good points on DFO, I think it was, or maybe it might have even been Morning Cup of Hockey yesterday. Bennett is somebody that can end up getting overpaid, but you're also going to overpay a guy that may not have the same type of success because he's not in Florida. So, like, he plays well within a certain system on a certain team. Is he going to give you that same production on another team? And to me, that makes it even more intriguing because you're going to have teams that may end up going full Glenn Sather, Bobby Holik 2002 to get him. And then that success is nowhere near guaranteed. Like Mitch Marner, you know you're going to get a guy that's going to be at least an 85, 90-point player that's going to be probably in the Selke conversation. He probably could put up 100 points elsewhere. Sam Bennett is a complete wild card because you can end up giving him $8.5 million, and he ends up scoring you at most 50, 55 points. And the playoff success is not guaranteed. And let's just say he goes to, for example, I don't know, Detroit, for just to throw a random team out there. Who's to say that he's going to have that same playoff success in Detroit? And who's to say that his offensive numbers don't go down? This is a guy that's like a career high, 52 points in a season is like his career high, I think.
I had it, and now I got to go get it back. Keep going.
Yeah, like it's not a lot. Like, yeah, 51 points is actually his career high.
Correct.
And that's this year. I mean, he had 49 in only 71 games a few years back with 28 goals. But this is not a big, like, point scorer. Like, you're not signing him to be an $8.5 million guy to maybe put up 60, 70 points. Like, you would feel a lot more comfortable giving him $8.5 million if that's what he was. And then he could go and, it was proven that he was a proven playoff performer on another team like in Calgary. But he's not. Like, did he play well in the playoffs with Calgary years back? Yeah, like he had a couple of decent postseasons with them, especially 2020. He had 8 points in 10 games, including 5 goals. Like, and even in his first, in 2014-15, he had 3 goals and 4 points in his first postseason, and he was one of the better players for Calgary in that run. But there's no guarantee he does what he's doing right now anywhere else. And that, to me, what makes it more intriguing, because our team is going to be willing to go to that $8.5 million mark for this guy, knowing that that's a distinct possibility.
There are those contracts you see signed, and you immediately go, ugh. Everybody will knock the Mitch Marner contract initially and say he's not worth that money. What's he going to do in the postseason? Look what he's done in Toronto and in the postseason. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody's going to look at the Sam Bennett money and go, wow. I think Sam Bennett is going to get a contract that's going to make us – it's like one of the contracts I immediately first guessed, just being a sports fan, was Jacoby Ellsbury to the New York Yankees. I just went, that's not going to work.
Never mention that contract ever again. I swear I want to punch you for mentioning that.
But going back to this, Sam Bennett's going to get that contract that you're just going to look at and you're just going to grimace and wince and go, oh. I still think Mitch Marner is going to be a franchise player somewhere. I think Mitch Marner is going to go somewhere and maybe even lead a team in scoring, maybe even find a new level to his game. and maybe even have postseason success somewhere. But the Sam Bennett contract is more interesting because now I want to know what the bidding war is and how far it's going to go. And I don't think it's going to be just the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think there's going to be other people in there. Side note, guys, I know I want to move on from this, but I have to mention this. The 2014 NHL draft, just for fun. First pick, Ekblad to the Panthers. Sam Reinhart, who's now on the Panthers, went to the Sabres. Third pick, Leon Draisaitl. Fourth pick was Sam Bennett. Anthony, who went number 5 to the New York Islanders.
You have to remind me.
Well, yes, Michael Dalcole. But
Yeah,
by the way,
thanks.
right after that, guys, Jake Virtanen to Vancouver. Carolina got Hayden Fleury. The Maple Leafs got Nylander. Winnipeg got Elders. Nicholas Ritchie going to the Ducks. And then closing out the top 10, Kevin Fiala going to the Nashville Predators. Talk about a weird top 10.
I really liked Michael Dalcole. I knew the skating might have been a problem, but I loved the skill. I loved his story, and I loved his character. Like, yeah, I said that to him too. I don't know if anybody heard that.
Oh,
but,
sorry, Nikolai Ehlers. My bad.
Yeah, Elders. I don't know where you got that from.
I think I just read it really fast. I know who Nikolai Ehlers is.
But yeah, I liked Dalcole a lot. You know, having a special needs brother that he was taking care of, and his story was a really good story. I thought that he would be a high character, quality player that would find a way to break through at the next level. He just never did. The skating was uncorrectable.
Anthony, don't worry. We'll probably have a pick 'em during the summer of worst draft pick. Hugh Jessamine, or I think Dave Shazowski comes to mind for the New York Islanders. That's going to be an interesting argument. All right. By the way, bigger potential New York Ranger departure. You bastard.
Oh, Anthony definitely did this to him. That's messed up, Ants. Come on.
Anyway,
I know because I went through and corrected it, Anthony. You're not getting that one past me.
Anyway, Anthony, bigger potential New York Ranger departure, Chris Kreider or Mika Zibanejad?
It would be Zibanejad just because he's got the no movement clause and is the less likely guy to go. So I think for that alone, Zibanejad would be the bigger departure if it happens. As you know, with Kreider, it seems like a trade could be possibly imminent. So, if this was like a bar talk, I would say this would be a layup. I think it would definitely be Zibanejad.
Philk?
All right, so I need parameters here. What do you mean by this? Because this is someone.
I'm being broad on purpose on this also, because do you go with the longevity of the guy, or do you just turn the page on Mika Zibanejad, or you're turning the page on the guy that's been there since 2012? And that's why it gets to be a little bit broad. That's why these pick'ems are supposed to be broad.
Yeah, I just don't know what you fully mean by this. Like, is this? It's
on the ice, off the ice, all of it encompasses.
So now I have to weigh on ice against off ice.
Correct. And also keep in mind Mika Zibanejad's wonderful postseason or post-game pressers this year.
I'm gonna probably have to say Zibanejad just because I think there's still life left within him. He's younger. He has the no movement clause. I don't think Kreider. I'm not saying that Kreider doesn't do anything with the community.
He does a lot.
I don't think he's anywhere close to Adam Graves.
No one is,
and that's really. I mean, so I can't weigh, off ice in Chris Kreider's favor there. So I'll have to say Zibanejad.
First off, let me say Anthony stumbled onto something by mistake. For years, we should have been calling this Kreibanejad. So
it's been called that online for a while.
Oh, it has? Okay. Yeah. So I'm actually gonna go with Kreibanejad just because to get out of that contract is going to be a big thing. This has been a move for a while with Chris Kreider. You knew it was coming as soon as Alexei Lafreniere resigned. But the truth is, out of this entire thing, Mika Zibanejad now being, I don't know if he's a first-line center anymore. And you're paying him $8.5 million. And he's got 5 years left on that deal.
Yeah.
So he's recently removed from being a first-line center and signing this deal. This contract might be one of the worst in Rangers history when you look at it in the end. Should they not move him? Maybe Zibanejad proves me wrong. I don't know. But we're going to find out about that. And guys, TJ Oshie retired yesterday.
You got to check the banner because Anthony probably did some sort of.
No, actually, this one Anthony left. See, it's all right. It's all right, Anthony. We're on for 3 hours. We need to be a little bit more lively with some of these. So anyway, Phil, I'm going to start with you. TJ Oshie retired recently, and his shootout prowess, especially in the 2014 Sochi Olympics. So if there was a shootout attempt with your life on the line, are you taking TJ Oshie, Matt Zuccarello, or Frans Neilsen? And these are all shootout gods.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Kane is the most with 53. Toews has the second most with 52. Oshie's third with 49, tied with Frans Neilsen there. And Matt Zuccarello is 12th at 39. In terms of total goals, I don't know the percentages right off the bat, but I know for a while Neilsen was like the all-time he was the all-time percentage leader. It's tough for me because Neilsen had like two moves really that he could beat you with. It was the quick shot through the 5-hole, then the forehand backhand.
Oh, he was forehand backhand. He made Nylander look, and this is Michael Nylander, made Nylander look like a chump.
Zuccarello and Oshie could beat you in a variety of different ways. Oshie was good in the NHL. I think he gets a lot of boosting and a lot of notoriety because of the Sochi game against Russia. But I do want to say that I'm probably going to have to go Matt Zuccarello, maybe just because I'm a homer. But I have seen Matt Zuccarello do things to goalies like Roberto Luongo that I have never seen before. And Datsuk for me would probably be – he would be the guy – if Datsuk was on here, Datsuk would be my answer.
But I want to go with three local guys.
I understand. But Oshie's not really a local guy.
I know, but he's the one that retired.
So you wanted to go with two local guys and a retiree.
Yeah.
I would go Zuccarello just because he could beat you in a variety of ways. He could come in and do that forehand backhand better than just about anybody that's ever done it. He could come in slow, shoot top corner. He could dangle you in a bunch of different ways. He could shoot in other directions going against the grain. I mean, yeah, and this goal, that breakaway goal in Game 7 against the Capitals in 2013, he made Braden Holtby look like he belonged in a beer league with that move. That's how bad he made him look.
Yeah.
Pavel Bure unfortunately is not in there like Pavel Datsuk. Pavel Bure would be somebody that I would have loved to see in the shootout era. But I'm gonna have to go Zuccarello here.
Anthony, who are you going with?
Well, like I said, my life's on the line. I'm gonna go strictly by the numbers here, and that's gonna be my answer. So, percentage-wise, Oshie is 47.1, Zuccarello's 45.3, and Nielsen's 46.2. life's on the line. Oshie has the highest percentage, 47.1. There's my answer. I'm going with the guy with the highest percentage, TJ Oshie.
See, I'm surprised because again, just this is our chance to give Frans Neilsen some credit and a shout out. And as casual gamers saying right here, Frans Neilsen had 2 moves, backhand and 5-hole, as Phil said. Goalies knew it, everybody knew it, and they still couldn't stop it.
It's kind of like Mariano Rivera. Like, you knew the cutter was coming and you still couldn't stop it.
Yes.
The only thing was that, Mariano also had a 4-seamer too, just to kind of throw that out there. And let's talk about a second move or a secondary option. But yes, Frans had 2 different things. He was a pain in the ass. It was a literal coin flip. I felt like it was either he was a 50% chance that he was going to score, and a legit 50%. It wasn't like one of those, oh yeah, sure, technically it's a 50%. But he's one of those guys where he came up, and you're like, shit, like you don't want to see that guy come there.
Yeah. I actually don't think there's a wrong answer on here, by the way.
There's not.
So I was waiting for you to say Neilsen so I could go Oshie, but now you said Oshie. I mean, Kuznetsov, the Kuznetsov crawls in there too.
Yeah, that thing was just. He had a great move, but it's that one move. It's like Jokinen. Jokinen was definitely like Mariano Rivera too. Like, you knew that, but he also had the other move where he would do the Zibanejad, where he would go forehand, backhand, and then come back forehand quick and shoot. Yeah, and that was also a very effective move for him. And he started doing that when everybody started getting onto the Forsberg, and then he kept that crazy streak of shootout goals going for a while due to that.
This would be a good conversation for us to have during the summer, by the way. But like Mikey Red is going, Emmett Smith going to run the ball against the goal line. You know he's going to score. Yes. But also Barry Sanders at any point of the field, you're just going, we're just going to hand it off to Barry. Anthony, what were you about to say?
So do you know what player that you didn't include in that trio that has an even higher percentage than Oshie?
Is it Olli Jokinen?
No.
Not Olli Jokinen. UC Jokinen?
No, it's Jonathan Toews, 47.3.
Yeah, no, he was definitely in there. And by the way, actually, that's a good lead-in, Anthony. Jonathan Toews is making himself available for NHL teams. And what was the word that you said? How's the interest looking for him?
Pretty high. There was as much as 10 teams that are interested, and I saw a couple of reports today that he hopes to select a team by the NHL draft. Mind you, the rules are a little different for him. He can talk to teams already because he hasn't played in so long. He's considered essentially an inactive player, so he still can't technically sign the contract until July 1st. But he's been allowed to speak to teams during this whole time. So it looks as though he's going to be selecting a team by the draft. That's his goal. And he's been skating in Minnesota. That's where he's been right now. So, the rumor on him is obviously Winnipeg. That's where he's from. We all know Minnesota is just south of Winnipeg. So I gotta imagine Minnesota is potentially an option for him. But it seems as though he's going to be picking his team in the next 2 weeks or so.
And by the way, it's amazing with Toews because it's not like he has that one particular move that he uses.
Yeah,
he beats so many different ways, and obviously they used him all the time in international competitions. But Phil, I'll start with you and then go right back to Anthony. If you were Jonathan Toews, given the career that you've had and the resume you have, where do you want to go play?
I'm sorry. I'm responding. I didn't know you were talking to me.
If you were Jonathan Toews, where would you want to go play, given the career and the resume that he's got?
Probably close to home. I would say Winnipeg at that point. I mean, especially if you have a plan to go back home and live by your family. I would say maybe Winnipeg. I don't think he's going back to Chicago. I mean, you could go to Florida and try to win another Stanley Cup there. And
Bill Zito was the GM over there.
Yeah, and Zito's somewhat familiar with him. I mean, you could go a bunch of different places. He could even go to Dallas if he wants to. Another place with nice weather and no state tax.
You take on the challenge of being a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, so he's 30. So I was having this debate on Facebook with somebody about Messier and coming into Vancouver. And Vancouver was a complete mess when Messier came there. And this guy was trying to tell me that Messier would, he should have been able to sort that entire team out and their problems. They were a poorly constructed team. Pavel Bure and Alexander McGillney did not have their chemistry that they had at the junior level for the Red Army when they played with Sergei Fedorov. And Vancouver was missing defense. Like, who was their defense at that point? A Panthron Dave Babich? Yuri Slegger? I don't think he was even there anymore.
And Matthias Oland, who was coming in, who was just drafted.
You had a young Matthias Oland, a very young Adrian Aucoin. But I mean, it's just you can't put it on somebody that age to be able to lift the team up when their skills are declining. Toews hasn't played in 3 seasons now, at least.
Yeah.
So how do you expect him to come in and fix Toronto, especially when Toronto is going to be losing somebody like Mitch Marner?
Anthony, if you were Jonathan Toews, where would you go?
Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, okay.
He might correct some of the problems there.
You know what? I think for him, he's obviously already won a bunch. I think it comes down to if he wants to try to win again, like get another crack at winning the cup, or he wants to go somewhere where he can get an opportunity to play more role and prove to teams that, he's still got enough in the tank for, maybe the year after this and try to get more money. So with that said, is it possible? I think maybe he goes somewhere that it's still a good team, but maybe he can play a little bit more. Like, I mean, I don't know. I can't really come up with a team right now, but like, I don't necessarily know if he's going to pick. Actually, Minnesota could be a perfect example. They may trade Marco Rossi. They're not a high-end contender, but they're still a good team, and maybe there's room for him to get a little bit more minutes there. So, could he go that avenue, or maybe if he wants more of a guaranteed chance to win a cup, maybe he goes to Winnipeg and he's killing 2 birds with one stone because he's home and he's playing on a contender. So, I'm not really quite sure which direction it's going to go in, but I'm curious to see what he has left in the tank. This is a guy that last he played, he had 36 points. So, we'll see. But my guess is Winnipeg, back to Chicago, or maybe another team like, honestly, maybe Edmonton. He's a Canadian boy. Maybe he views them as a contender. Maybe a team like that. So those would just be my guesses. But
after all, that's how Duncan Keith finished his career, going to Edmonton.
Yes.
That's a great. It's a good question, guys. I think obviously Winnipeg would need to be number 1 because they were the number 1 team in the league and they did all this. If I was him, I kind of be tempted to go back to Chicago and then see if I can mentor Connor Bedard, see if I can stabilize everything over there. Because I think his Hall of Fame resume is set. I don't think we need to worry about anything else. So I think he could just go off, be himself, not have to worry about. If he's a complete disaster at the next place, it is what it is. Guys, let's do a quick name that player. And I'll get the first one ready. I got 3 of them. And we'll start with a guy that played on the New York Rangers 10 years ago. Let me get the big one out. And there we go. Thanks, Philk.
Yeah.
I'm also going to get Anthony's face.
We're going to do full screen layout.
Yeah.
So this is a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Started with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
John
went to New
Mitchell.
York-
Damn, they beat me to it.
It's
Yeah.
John Mitchell. He went from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the New York Rangers to the Colorado Avalanche. Because remember, guys, they don't let me finish these. So let's we'll clear out of that one real quick. Let's go back in a second. Phil, you could expand that. And now let's go to a guy who played for the New Jersey Devils for a brief stint. And
Joel Bouchard.
no. But
Yeah, so
Brad
Okay.
Lukowicz. Brad Lukowicz. Brad Lukowicz.
all
Yeah.
right, just to narrate this, we have he started
Yeah,
with the Dallas
it-
Stars, went to the Tampa Bay Lightning, to the New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils, back to Stars, over to the San Jose Sharks, Vancouver.
I didn't even
Canucks,
get to
and back
start
Dallas.
reading it, and Anthony had it right away.
Oh, I know. I have to do something to kind of keep that in there. But Brad Lukowicz was the answer. Wow.
I had to match Phil. He got Mitchell absurdly quick. I needed to return the favor.
Well, and he was a New York Islander 4th round selection in 1994. So who'd have thunk it? All right. And the last one, guys, let's get to that. It's
Alexei Gusarov.
this one right here. Okay. This guy right here. He went from the
hold on.
Philadelphia Flyers to the Nashville Predators to the Pittsburgh Penguins to the New York Islanders before finishing
Mark
with the
Eaton.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
Is it Mark Eaton?
It is Delaware native Mark Eaton right there. Boom, shakalaka. So how about that, boys? That is you guys really kind of just killed it with that.
Mark,
I
it's
get
been a while. Fire it up.
I'm firing up the Puckdoku. And also, we're gonna go back and let's do that other thing we were doing, Anthony. We were setting a
So
5-minute
I'm gonna
timer.
do some questions and stuff like that shenanigans, I guess we could call that. Get some of these out of the way. Laurent, no, I don't think the Rangers are going to be in on Marner.
Even if Panarin came off the books, I don't think they'd be in on.
Yeah, I don't. Does Will? I would hope Will Cooley finally gets power play 1. Hope they keep him and he gets power play 1, Jay. So this way, I think he could be a 30+ guy if he does. And then is Bowen Byram an opening or New York Ranger? Possible. Buffalo and the Rangers are definitely going to be having talks.
They had some talks earlier in the year, so yeah, why not? And if Keandre Miller's on their wish list, why not? After all, Miller scored his first NHL goal in Buffalo. Maybe he could score his first goal with another team. Quickly
Let's
for
do
Puckdoku, we'll go through more questions in a moment. Top row, Montreal Canadiens, New York Islanders, and under 100 games played in their NHL career. And on the y-axis, you have the Minnesota Wild, Anaheim Ducks, and 1 shutout in an NHL season. Who wants to start it off, boys?
I have a guy that you could use for both Anaheim and Montreal and Anaheim and the Islanders. And I don't know where you want to use him, Anthony. You probably already know where I'm going with this. Sean
Eric
Hill.
Fischel? Oh, Sean Hill.
Sean Hill. You can
Yeah,
use
you
Sean Hill and either use Sean Hill.
You could actually even use Sean Hill for the Wild and the Canadians. You could use him for 3 different squares if you wanted to.
He played for
Yeah.
the Wild too.
Yeah, he did.
That must be late in his career then.
How about
Let me see exactly what year.
Oh
it was.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was his very last season in 2008. He played for a year after he was with the Islanders.
I love it how we have an answer that literally is on almost everywhere on the board except for this right now.
That would be really high casual. We try to be obscure as possible.
Because also,
Yeah.
by the way, Anthony using Eric Fischel on this. Eric Fischel could be either a New York Islander or a Montreal Canadian.
Yeah,
No, but he had to have recorded the shutout
with that team.
I don't think you have to look.
He did not. He played 2 games in Montreal. He did not record a shutout. So let's use Fischel for the New York Islanders because that's not going to be a big one.
That might be big.
1%.
Yeah,
1%, huh?
I can't believe 1% got it. I guarantee
One
that
shutout and under 100 games played. Would JF Labe fall under that?
let's double check that. JF Labe.
No, he never had a shutout.
You know what? You could have used Fisho for that box.
That actually is true, Anthony, because he was under 100 games played. JF Labe does not have a shutout.
No.
What about Jan Denis?
Let's see.
I think he might. Actually, yeah, Jan Denis would fall under it.
What was his shutout with Montreal, the Islanders? Because you might be able to use him for the Montreal.
No, I'm talking about 100 games and one shutout.
Yeah.
How do you spell Jan Denis?
Danis.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's why I can't find it.
You're thinking of Mark Denny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jan Denis, his shutout came with.
It doesn't matter. I'm not using it for that.
Okay.
I'm talking.
He does
about
have under 100 games played, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He uses.
Yeah.
He's under 100 games and one shutout.
Okay. Let's see.
Mackenzie Skapski. Actually, that's a better one. Mackenzie Skapski.
He played 2 games. Yeah.
Use him for under 100 games and one shutout.
Then that means you can use Jan Denis for the Canadians one.
Yeah, because he has
Mackenzie Skapski somehow has 1%.
Which is ridiculous. I don't know how that's 1%.
Jan Denis got 1%. What the hell?
How is Skapski at 1%? What the
I
fuck is this?
Okay. All right. So now we have Canadians. Canadian and Wild. Islanders and Wild. Canadian and Anaheim and Islanders and Anaheim.
Hold on. I think I might have one for. Give me 1 second. I think I might have one.
For which square?
Montreal and Wild.
All right.
Yes, Brad Brown. Former Ranger Brad Brown.
What was it again?
Brad Brown from Montreal and Wild.
Brad Brown. Got it.
Yes.
Brad Brown, 0.8%. Now, Anthony, I got 2 guys for the New York Islanders and the Anaheim Ducks. Jason Krog and Marnie McInnes.
I mean, I have
Jason Krog.
Yeah, you could do. I mean, Tom Curvers. Actually, you could use Tom Curvers for Ducks and Canadians. Think about that.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Troy, you could do Troy Loney for. I mean, there are a lot of guys for Anaheim.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think Troy Loney's even better than those 2 guys.
Yeah, Troy Loney. Yeah, that's a good one. That's
Troy Loney.
Everybody
Troy Loney, the first ever player to play for the Rangers and the Islanders in the same season.
Ross Johnston is going to be way too high, man.
Yeah,
you got to think more obscure if you want these low scores.
That one's not a bad one. Casual saying Richard Park for Islanders Wild.
I think that's going to be higher than you expect.
Yeah, it's probably 1% or 2%.
I think it's higher than that.
Think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're
looking
at
Richard Park for the
in that range.
He scored the OT winner.
I could rattle off Island. I mean, you could use Bill McCall. You could use Sean Hill.
Bill McCall.
Yeah, you could use Marc-Andre Bergeron.
Bill McCall.
Bill McCall, 0.9%. Boom.
Sean Hill for the Anaheim and Montreal one.
Yeah.
0.7. We're still at a uniqueness score of 3. We just need a couple of guys that just didn't make it.
Anaheim. Okay, I got one for Anaheim. It's under 100 games played in his career. I just want to double check it, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Stanislav Shystov?
No. No. Fuck, he's under. I think I have another one that would fall under it. Robin Bawa.
What the fuck? Who the hell the blue hell is that?
He was a very early Anaheim Duck.
Robin
Oh.
Bawa.
Yeah, BAWA.
0.9%, Phil. He just got under one. Anthony?
and then Minnesota.
Yeah.
How many?
Hold on.
Anthony-
I think Ladislav Benešek might end up fitting that. No.
What about Anti Alto? How many games did Anti Alto play? Did he play more than 100?
That's a fucking good one. Oh my god.
He might have. How many did he play?
No, 151.
Ooh, that's too many.
Oh, actually, you know what? I'm getting mixed up. He only played for Anaheim. He didn't play for Minnesota. I got that.
Yeah, only for Anaheim. Yeah, he was never. Minnesota. Hold on, maybe Kyle Wanvig? Yep, Kyle Wanvig, 75 games.
All right, so Kyle. What was it?
WANVIG.
Wanvig, got it. I had the L.
Mark, you know what to do next.
Yes, I do. All right, but by the way, I do want to check one thing.
Anthony wants that pyramid smoke.
He loves that pyramid smoke. He loves that pyramid cred.
Like
By the way, one shutout under 100 games played. Dustin Wolf was the most. But let's go to this bottom one where we had the 1%ers. Well, Yandini would fit in there. Dustin Tokarski. Okay.
Oh my god. Eric Comrie was that one?
Eric Comrie's he's played less than 100 games.
Oh my god.
Mika Noronen.
Mika Noronen in Buffalo, yeah. Was Marcel Cousineau one of those?
You
Did I
was.
just see Marcel Cousineau?
You
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Oh god.
Steve Valaket didn't get to 100 games. That's a little bit surprised.
Wow.
Phil,
Yeah, I thought Valaket would have gotten 100 games.
every Ranger fan should know this one. Mike Brodeur. He played against the Rangers. His debut, shutout.
That's not surprising at all.
Peter Ing. Matt Murray played less than 100 games played in his career.
No way.
That's different, Matt Murray. It's the different Murray.
Yeah, I was about
Okay.
to say that is not the Matt Murray we're thinking of.
Maxime Legacy. I would actually, we know that. I was going to say Sebastian Caron too. Jeff Zakoff. All right. So this is just the guys that had all those that were.
Yeah.
And for New York Islanders, I can't believe somebody was below Eric Freeshow. But
Mark Fitzpatrick. Yeah, that's a good one.
oh, this was just one shutout in a season. We could have named anybody.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be, yeah. Didn't have to be those two. All right. All right. Let's go to the pyramid, guys. And we're going to start the time. We're going to start the timer on this.
This is where Mark squirms in bewilderment as he tries to figure out a player and put it all pieces together.
All right, boys. 5 minutes. Let's start the timer right now. Any Anaheim Duck in their history?
Sean Hill.
That's
Or
yeah,
Gabe
why not?
Harpa.
Well, actually, you know what? Did Sean Hill have a 30 assist
Bill
season?
Holder.
Because you could use. All right, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, Bill Holder's a good
Bill Holder. We're not going to need Bill Holder the rest of the way. 30 assists in the
30
season for any
season.
team.
I think Sean Hill actually has a 30 assist season.
What about Terry
check
Yake?
it. Check
Terry
it.
Yake does.
But Sean Hill will be lower because he's a defenseman and Terry Yake.
Sean Hill had a 30 assist season in 99-2000. It doesn't have to be.
And we're not going to need him again. So there you go. Sean Hill. How about this one? Maybe Terry Yake goes right there. Just double check his
10 plus goals in a playoff career, and he was in Anaheim. Had a 30 assists. I think you could put Yake there.
Did he have 10 playoff goals?
He has 10 on the nose. Wait.
Yeah, I think you could put Yake there.
Nope, he's got 4.
How'd you say yes at first and then
Because they did 82 game NHL average.
I could see why he said that. They left that 82 game average right underneath. And if you're not
okay.
Yeah, that's the problem.
All right. Obviously, Peter Sikora would go right here. That'd be a little bit too easy.
Yeah.
Does it have to be with Anaheim or could it be with any team?
I think with any team. So what about Adam Oates? Or would that be too much of a...
No, that's way too obvious, bud. Like, come on.
What about Matthew Schneider?
Wait, he played in Anaheim?
Yeah.
I think he did at the end of. Yeah, I think he did.
He definitely
that's
did.
right. Yeah, his last season. That's right. You're right.
He definitely had
Matthew Schneider, and Matthew Schneider's got 11 goals in 15 years of the playoffs. I think Matthew Schneider's a slam dunk. Let's go with that one.
Oh, not his last season. It was his first year after Detroit. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 30
now
assists, Anaheim Ducks, and 10 playoff goals, 500 penalty minutes.
Jesus Christ. What the hell?
Usually I could see the player they're directing us to, but I'm having trouble.
Steve Thomas wouldn't have had that many penalty minutes, I don't think.
I think Steve Thomas might have.
He played a lot.
I think it would be close. I don't know if he would have or not.
He has 1,300 penalty minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, you could put Steve Thomas in right there then.
Yeah, I would use Steve Thomas.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going with Steve.
not a
I
lot
would
of
go
people
Steve
are gonna
Thomas
think of
too.
it as a penalty machine.
Yeah, it's just the longevity would get him there. So now we have the second team thrown in here. We have the Edmonton Oilers, 500 penalty minutes, 10 playoff goals, 30 assists in a season, and played for the Anaheim Ducks as well. Is this Dustin Penner?
Now click to me who the leading. The leading is to Corey Perry. I think you got to save him from Montreal though. I think he's the last. I think he might be the only answer for the last box.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they're trying to direct us to. So
if it didn't say everything that fits this otherwise, if it wasn't for the fact that it was a Duck, I would have said Scott Mellenby because Scott Mellenby fits everything else otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a Duck, an Oiler
who had 30 assist season,
10
500
playoff
penalty
goals.
minutes, and 10 playoff goals. Wow.
All right, hold on.
Hold on. I think I might have somebody. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
42 seconds to finish the pyramid, guys.
Screw your 42 seconds.
Shit.
Let's get our faces back on.
Actually, no, he doesn't even. No. I had Sean Van Allen in mind because he fit the team requirements and the penalty minutes and everything, but he did not. Oh no, he didn't even fit the penalty minutes. Wow. What
about Antoine Vermette?
I think that actually
I
is
don't
a good
think
one.
Did Vermette play for the Oilers?
Shit.
Vermette
He didn't. No, he didn't.
did not play for the Oilers.
No, I was about to say I don't remember him playing for the Oilers. But
And now we're over 5 minutes.
Mark, we're 2 boxes away. Relax yourself.
I know. I want to challenge us, Anthony.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go to the comments. I'll see if anybody can pull some out over there.
Let me see something. Real quick.
And Chris Pronger, Anaheim.
Bill Garrett never played for Anaheim, right?
No, not that I know.
No.
You know, it's funny because I would have said
This is a good one.
I would have said Steve Ruchin.
No, wait.
He doesn't even come close in the penalty minutes. Like he fell 1 goal, playoff goal short. Steve Ruchin. He never. Obviously, he never played for the Oilers too. But
Don't wait. I said Bill Garrett, and Islander captain. I automatically thought of Doug Waite. Doug Waite.
All right, I'm checking one thing on Doug Waite because you got to check his penalty minutes. Yeah, he's got it. He's got 970.
Because
I like Doug Waite.
definitely got 10 playoff goals. I can tell you that.
All right, so Doug Waite. We're still the uniqueness score of 3, and can we think of anybody but Corey Perry?
Hey.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I knew you were a couple of S4, so I gave you a little bit more
just
time.
finishing up. We were I wanted to just
I don't think there's anybody else other than Corey Perry that this is leading to.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else but Corey Perry.
Goes from Anaheim to Edmonton to
Adam
Montreal.
Henrique, I don't think he's got Montreal on
Adam
there.
Henrique never played for Montreal.
That's right. Thank you, DP. There's a reason why we do this, guys. We're building a fan base little by little. By the way, Casual Gamer, nice to see you on here.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think Maroon ever had a 30 assist season.
That was
I
still
know
a
he
good
had
guess.
like a 20+ goal season playing with Connor McDavid, but he was never a playmaker.
Penner didn't have 500 penalty minutes, believe it or not.
Yeah, Maroon's career high in assists was 26. And he
David
had
Backes never played for Edmonton or Montreal, so that's another one.
Saku Koivu never played for Edmonton. He only played for Montreal and Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Corey Perry, Philk. So
It's got to be Corey Perry. And
it's got to be Corey Perry. We selected him. Still a 3 uniqueness score. It's good that they don't punish us. That is 100% the answer. There was no other answer.
Yeah.
Chris Pronger was another answer. Anthony pulling out Doug Waite. Todd Marchand.
Yeah, shit.
How is he over Doug Waite?
How did we miss that? Wow.
Well, we should have missed that, but I think the truth is we probably weren't thinking 10 playoff goals. Marchand is more of a defense specialist anyway in penalty kill.
Yeah, but Todd Marchand kind of had a little bit of a breakout towards the end of his career, a little bit offensively. That's the thing.
Him and Mike Greer used to be a terror PK wise back in Edmonton.
Not only that, but that Anaheim run in 2006, he had a great run. And especially his first playoff run in 97, when they upset Dallas, I think he had a couple of OT winners in that series.
And then some of the other usual suspects: Rene Bourque, Anton Vermette, Dmitry Moranov. We went with I forgot who we went with on
said Vermette? Where?
Vermette would have been this square.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was going to say he never played in Edmonton. I know that. All
right, so let's get out of that. Let's get back to this. Guys, we're going to take a couple of quick questions, and we're going to end the stream at 5:15. Already been a hell of a day, guys. This has been a long day, and I still can't. Part of me just can't believe the day is here now that it looks like Chris Kreider is going to get traded. Has there been an update on that, Phil?
I'm going to check right now. Let's see if there's anything. Weeks is saying Bowen Byram. There's plenty of clubs on Bowen Byram. Latest update 43 minutes ago. It's a paywall from Larry Brooks.
Yeah, I love when they throw the paywalls up there. Anthony's back.
No, wait. No, actually, it's not a paywall. It was just the thing to click for. The move to Anaheim is now entirely up to Chris Kreider after Rangers have struck the preliminary agreement with the Ducks to trade their senior player. We're told by an informed source that Anaheim is on his 15-team no-trade list submitted last July 1st. Chris Drury was told by the Wingers party that he would be amenable to going to Ducks before the GM entered talks with GM counterpart Pat Verbeek. As of mid-afternoon Wednesday, Kreider, who had learned his development late Tuesday night, was conducting his due diligence before signing off. If he does, the divorce after 13 years that has seemed inevitable for months will be done. The core will be no more. Kreider joined the Blue Shirts in the 2012 playoffs and his club most senior player. Has 2 years remaining and a cap hit of $6.5 million. At this point, it's unclear what will be coming back in the deal. That's not the case. It's been reported that it's a prospect, Carey Terrence, and looked like a second-round pick, unless Larry is hearing otherwise, which could be possible. Separation between the club and its third all-time leading goal scorer has been forecast for months now, probably following a public breach last November when contents of a league-wide memo circulated by Drury, which the GM cited Kreider by name as well as Jacob Kruger being available on the market for league. Plus, there was the New Jersey healthy scratch 2 days before Christmas, when the team went above to announce that it wasn't injury related. So now it appears Kreider will be joining former captain in Orange County. Kreider turned 34 at the end of April, is coming off the worst full season of his career, 22 goals, 8 assists in 68 games. Only one power play goal after the calendar flipped to 2025. Then it talks about he only trails Gilbert and Rattel in goal scoring, and then it's 10th in points. All-time playoff leader. Kreider is indeed moved. His closest friend, Mika Zibanejad, might be more amenable to waiving his full no move clause if asked. Two men have grown inseparable over the last number of years. Blue Shirts entered last season with the core that had been in place from 2019-20 that featured Kreider, Zibanejad, Trouba, Igor, Panarin, Fox, Hedel, Lindgren, Puckdoku, with DeAndre Miller and Alexi Lafreniere joining the band the following season. When Kreider goes, joining Trouba, Hedel, Lindgren, Kako up to now, core will be no more. So yeah, no anything. No further update, but it seems like they're close to a deal. Very, very close. I'd imagine this gets done by Friday at the latest. Unless it hits a stag, obviously.
Going, by the way, on to what Dave's question was, Anthony, does Kreider to Anaheim make sense to you?
I mean, and what?
Here's what I'm just kind of wondering. They want to be in the Mitch Marner sweepstakes. You're going to add Chris Kreider.
Dude, they have 38. Hold on, they have $38 million in cap space. Take Kreider.
Marner.
Taking Kreider's 6.5 doesn't even put a dent in that. Really, they still have $31 million of cap space.
Yeah, but you still got to field the team. That's where I'm having trouble trying to see this.
What do you mean?
Like, you still got Mason McTavish that's on there. You still got Will Carlson you're trying to develop. What are you doing with Trevor Zegras?
So they all right. So they, out of their 14 forwards that are listed on cap wages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them are under contract right now. Robbie Fabry's a UFA is probably not going back. He'll probably Brock McGinn's probably gone. So that leaves you McTavish for who's probably going to get somewhat of a big RFA raise. I think Lundstrom's not going to get a crazy raise, and Brett Leeson, who they could even let him go. So if you mouse over the statuses, AFP Analytics gives you some projections. So if you mouse over Mason McTavish, they give you two options. They think either 6 years by 6.772, 542, or 3 by 3, 983, 819 to bridge him for 3 years. Lundstrom goes 2 years, 1.4. Leeson goes 1 year, 125, and I don't even think they value Leeson all that much. So I don't know what you're talking about with having trouble putting a team together, Mark.
I'm just not seeing it. Who's their number one center? Who's what are you doing with Troy Terry, especially if you try to get Mitch Marner in there?
What do you mean? What do you do with Troy Terry?
Paulson's there. I mean,
Troy
I'm spitballing, guys. I'm just throwing stuff around.
But when you say what do you do with Troy Terry? He's locked up, making $7 million a year. What do you mean?
What do you do with his playing time?
Nothing. He's top 6 player.
He's
okay.
Yeah,
He would still be power play one.
Who's jumping into the top 6 over him? That's where I'm not seeing it.
All right, I'm just kind of not seeing.
So the only thing I would say, Mark, is that like guys like Terry, Killorn, Zegras, Strome, McTavish, they have flexibility to play multiple different positions. Vetrano can play both wings and play both wings well. It's not a problem for him. McTavish can play center or left wing. Zegras has played all 3 forward positions at the NHL level. Same with Ryan Strome. I mean, Troy Terry can play either wing. Killorn can play either wing. And Killorn is a bottom 6 player likely at this point. And then there's Cutter Gauthier, who's probably going to get top 6 minutes now this year. And Leo Carlson, I don't think they're going to play load management with him anymore. I think he's gonna play I think he's going to play like top 6 center minutes. So I think there's your question at center.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go 6 more minutes, guys. So
And also, Steve saying that Patrick Beak and Steve Eisman are good examples that being a star player doesn't mean you're qualified to be a GM. But I wish Kreider the best in Anaheim. Listen, I think Kreider could fit in there. I really do. I think they could use somebody with a little more veteran leadership there. I don't know if I trust Radko Gudas to be your captain. But whatever in that regard. They have young talents, and he could. I think that with him being a senior guy, he may not have to be the legs on that team. So, I mean, I would like Marco Rossi. I don't know if I see them trading for him. I think they're kind of focused on Jason Robertson right now for whatever reason.
Wicked was asking about if anybody gets offer sheeted, and I think with the cap going up, you might see some offer sheets this year.
Matthew Knies is somebody that's talked about. Will Cooley is someone that's talked about. Keandre Miller is somebody that's been talked about. I think Miller gets dealt as opposed to being offer sheeted. I think the Rangers want to lock up Will Cooley like right now, and they should. They should. That should be. He should not get to July 1st. If he gets to July 1st without a contract, and and his camp is not being, his camp is being reasonable, then that's a major failure on Chris Drury.
I do think, Jay, you're right. I think Kreider getting traded was no matter what, it was going to happen. I've been saying this for a while because you can't have Alexei Lafreniere making $7.7 million and being behind him on the depth chart. Just makes sense.
Yeah, and then not being on power play 1 as well. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Which is likely. It's likely Lafreniere will never get that chance with the Rangers anyway.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. You don't get it until the offer sheet is actually signed. I mean, we know of ones that have been matched, but I don't know.
Yeah. But then again, if I'm the GM that offered it and the guy didn't sign it, I don't want that out there.
Yeah.
Because you got to try to make it enticing to get the guy away from the team. You also have to try to make it an obstacle. Thankfully, I remember the word. You got to also make it an obstacle so the other team can't sign him. I mean, we thought it was going to be an either-or situation with Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, and St. Louis got them both.
Yeah, I think the situation has to come up to where there's a tight cap situation, kind of like how, Edmonton was taken advantage of by St. Louis. I think that's really what comes down to. I think you're going to have to find one of those situations. I don't think Matthew Knies is going to go anywhere unless somebody goes like way over the top and goes to like 9-10 million for him, which I don't see happening because he just hasn't put up the numbers that would be worth that. Same with like Will Cooley. I don't think anybody's going to go to the point where it's unreasonable, because I think the Jesperi Kotkaniemi offer sheet is going to be a kind of a warning to teams, an example of what not to do. And I mean, obviously, Carolina did that to be, vindictive and spiteful towards Montreal for their offer sheet to Sebastian Aho, which actually ended up helping out Carolina, if anything. They have a first line center locked up at a decent price for a while, but you can't do that to you can't do that with a player and go and give something unreasonable because you feel like you're gonna be able to screw over a team. And that's what St. Louis didn't do with Edmonton. They didn't go unreasonable. They went to the point where they knew Edmonton could not match because of their cap situation, and got young players at reasonable cap hits that came in and exceeded the play of those cap hits.
Which is a good thing. All right,
Yeah.
guys, 5:19 right now. Let's take one more question. And then actually we're gonna start the music right now because like I said, we've gone a good 40 minutes. 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a nice, good show, guys. By the way, if there's any musicians out there that want a song played, by all means.
People on this, Broadway block tweets. People on this app are wild. You want to hold on to Kreider until he goes to a retirement home and keep third liners out of any and all trade conversations, even if it meant the top 1% scorer. But you are still upset if we don't win. You can't have both. Which I agree. I think too many fans think with their hearts and not with their heads. And I think it's the perfect time to get rid of Chris Kreider. If I could convince Artemi Panarin to waive, I would do it too. And And then at that point, you could take some of those assets, go trade those assets for Jason Robertson, and get that left winger to come in to replace Panarin, and then go make other moves and have cap space. So that way you can kind of retool a bit on the fly and still be a competitive team.
By the way, guys, if you ever want to write a review for us on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere, please do so. Always let them know how much fun you have doing this. But, I mean, look, if you're asking me if I want my guys to succeed, I want my guys to succeed. Same way I wanted Pete Alonso back with New York Mets. That's just me. But the other thing you also got to understand is there are times where it really does not become feasible. And in this case, you would have a diminishing asset, which is what Kreider is, especially in his game and his size. Once his speed is gone, what's Chris Kreider going to be? That's a great question. And I think that's something he's going to have to answer. He might have to reinvent himself. You might see that soon enough. But the fact of the matter is, right now he still has value. And are the Rangers just going to get this? Maybe they could get more. Who knows? But you can't just sit there and go, all right, just let him get old. Because I've been in that situation, watching other players come in, regardless of whatever. You're on a team for 10 years, let's say, for instance. And, well, that's going to be a good question, David. Could he be the next Corey Perry? I don't know. It's a good question. When you're on a team and you're like, I used to be the number one guy, and then slowly but surely you're watching other people come in and replacing you, and the next thing you know, your playing time is severely diminished.
Corey, you got to remember, like saying the next Corey Perry. Corey Perry's got almost 450 goals and 935 points. Like, that's a guy that had a Hart Trophy winning season where he won the Rock of Richard in 2011 and scored 50 goals and has multiple other 30-goal seasons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 30-goal seasons. I mean, an even more 20-goal season. I mean, you can't make these comparisons.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Corey Perry was able to accept from an MVP level player to being a fourth liner, and look at what the results are. He's been on Tampa Bay Stanley Cup Finals. He went to Montreal.
Dallas Stanley Cup Finals. Montreal Stanley Cup Finals.
Edmonton. He's been to 5 of the last 6 Stanley Cups since he's left Anaheim. I mean, and it was a joke, but Jay, by the way, to answer this is why the Rangers wait so long to trade these players? For one reason is contractually speaking, they couldn't move Chris Kreider anyway until his no movement clause kicked in. The other thing is term on the player's contract. You might look at the contract if you're the other team and go, yeah, we're not taking him just yet. That's why with Jacob Trouba, that was a major obstacle, but then the Rangers still able to move him. Look, if you can move a player, you find a way to move the player. That's as simple as that. When it comes to this, you're going to have players that they're difficult to move. All right, guys. Yeah, by the way, for every Corey Perry, there's 500 Ryan Callahan. And Ryan Callahan, his body just wouldn't let him do it anymore. That was the other thing, too. But, yeah, all right. But they also dealt Kakko at his lowest trade value because he had value going into the season, and then they're at the lowest. Look, 90% of the time, players are traded when their value is the lowest. That's the reality of the situation. So you don't really trade.
Why are you going to trade a productive player that is who's doing well for you that's under contract? It doesn't make sense to trade them then.
All right, guys, listening along to the song, we are going to say bye-bye tonight, and we will see you next week, possibly Tuesday. I'll talk to the guys about that. We're going to figure out the next time we're going to be on, and it's going to be a great week. Wonder what the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers are going to be. Phil, by the time we air next week, what's that series going to be?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know.
Should be 2 more games at least.
Yeah, I know the next game is tomorrow. And then we'll see what we're at.
And then game 5 is Monday. If we do a Tuesday show, which I have to talk to you guys about, which I didn't, that's why I keep saying if.
So hold on. So it's Thursday and then Saturday. And then game 6, if it happens, is Tuesday. I don't know, 3-2 Florida.
Okay, there we go. I mean, I think I'm leaning towards 3-2 Florida too. They sense blood of the water.
It's not that simple. So the problem is here, Jay, is you're making out to be black and white. It's not black and white. It really isn't.
And Jay, you could say that, but nobody was trading Chris Kreider after a 50-goal season.
Yeah,
and I know what you're saying too about other guys like Puckdoku, guys that you can move, but it's just the reality is you're going to always trade somebody at their lowest.
The reality of it is that the Rangers are not good at player development. They're just not, and that has to change. I mean, provided that not every top 2 pick is the same. Like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was a number 1 overall pick. You can't say that. I mean, you can maybe even say that career-wise, he's had a better career than Taylor Hall. 2012 was what? Nail Yakupov? Nail Yakupov was a bust. 2013, Nathan McKinnon. 2014, Aaron Ekblad. 15 was McDavid, generational. 16 was Matthews, borderline generational. 17
was Hischier.
Nico Hischier. 18, it was Rasmus Dahlin. 19, Jack Hughes. 20, Lafreniere. I mean, you got to be better at. I mean, yes, part of it is luck, but you also have to be better at drafting and developing players and figuring it out.
Which Phil, I defended these guys for a while, but I'm sorry. Bye. I would say to Jed Ortmeyer and Tanner Glass.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to change. It's got to change. I mean, no, not just because they were plugged at the NHL level. That doesn't mean that they're inherently bad at developing talent. I think the track record is there that they've been there long enough to the point where you can look at the lack of success and say it's time to move on.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. But they've been, as David said right here, they've been notoriously bad at drafting and developing their players.
It happens over and over again. It's not bad luck. It is absolutely a trend, and that's 100%.
The Rangers have developed players that they've traded for, but not necessarily guys that, and for some reason, Phil, I don't know if I'm wrong on this, using this as an example. Radek Dvorak was one of those guys. They didn't draft him. They traded for him, and he had his best career years with the Rangers. And then
you know what? Right, I will say right place, right time, and they also gave him more minutes than what he would have gotten elsewhere. Like, like as good of a couple of years that Radek Dvorak had in 2000 and 2001. Part of that was because he was playing on that checkmates line, and they were getting 16 plus minutes per game. Derek Brassard had his best years on the Rangers. Yes.
There you go.
I mean, was he doing that in Columbus though? Like
Brian Boyle.
Yeah. Brian Boyle looked to be a massive bust. Like he didn't make the NHL really as a full-timer until 2009, 2010 when he came to the Rangers. And he still didn't look like he was an NHL player.
Yeah.
And then some woman named Barbara Underhill took him under his wing, and turned him into a good skater. And that really changed everything for Brian Boyle. I mean, I guarantee if you actually ask Brian Boyle, he'd probably tell you that he owes his career to her.
Yeah.
That his skating improved tenfold over. But again, sometimes it's right place, right time. Like Mike Knuble. Mike Knuble didn't look like he was anything in Detroit. No, took a chance on him. And then he
played decent as a New York Ranger, but then
he showed some flashes. He showed some flashes. And then he goes to Boston and he plays with Joe Thornton and Glenn Murray and has one of the best seasons of his career. And then he goes to Philadelphia and he plays with Peter Forsberg and Simone Gagne. But it's got to be right place, right time. But there's also got to be an initiative to put the players in the optimal positions in order for them to succeed. And this Rangers team sucks at doing that. They flat out suck.
And by the way, again, Anthony Duclair was one that was.
That's not fair though, because he had a cup of coffee with the Rangers. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna point to Anthony Duclair. You want to point to Capo Caco? Fine by me. Anthony Duclair, he played a cup of coffee here. This is a Keith Yandle trade.
Boxer fan right here is saying Rangers need Gavrikov or Byram.
I don't know if I want to go anywhere near that Gavrikov contract.
I don't
think
either.
That's going to be a bad one. Somebody
And you
gives
know
it 8 years, $64 million. That's going to be a bad deal. Well, no, Tony Amonte had a 30-goal, 70-point season in 1993.
Tony Amonte is the example of when the Rangers were good at, especially good at drafting and development. He played on
That's
a team
the last time they were good at it.
Yeah. And since then, not so much. So what's been going on with the New York Rangers? I mean, you could argue again that the early 2010 New York Rangers were good with drafting and development, but most of it was because of their back end more than their front end. Like they were developing defensemen. They had 5 of them that were in their lineup that played regular minutes. And by the time they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, they had 3 they had 2 that they drafted, 2 that signed as free agents that were castaways that were getting major minutes, 1 that was traded for, and
Lidster.
Yeah. Oh no, I was going with just the 2014 Rangers.
I thought you were talking 94. Okay.
Oh, 94, yeah. 2 they drafted. Again,
So
Jay Rose was traded for.
3 that they drafted: Leach, Karpatsev, and Zubov.
Yeah, people forget, and that. Yeah. 100% Canadians.
Bill, Calgary Flames fan.
Bill, you would definitely like the I had the video at the front, the full version of Sam Bennett, the horror movie.
Some Resident Evil type shit there.
Yeah. All right, guys. We've talked a lot today. We're going to be running out tomorrow. I got some laundry I'm going to drop off right now. But I will talk to you later. And yes, Jay Lewis or Brett Berard, hopefully he's getting more minutes this upcoming season. He looked pretty good. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Who knows? We might be back on sooner, breaking some news during the week. Talk to you guys later.